Chapter 2074. The Blue Emperor Luan was, after all, a highly intelligent and emotional creature. Yi Qinghan, the son of war, and the others had just helped it, so it couldn't reject them directly. It spread its wings and carried the three unconscious people away. Yi Qinghan quickly jumped onto the Blue Emperor Luan's back. The Blue Emperor Luan was extremely fast, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. After the Blue Emperor Luan left with the four people, less than an incense stick of time, at least a dozen flocks of griffins rushed over. These griffins had steel-like wings, and their fangs could pierce through high-grade ore veins. They actually ate the flesh of the fire hornless as food. The fire hornless defenses were extremely powerful. The griffins effortlessly tore through their scales and swallowed their flesh and blood. The fire hornless bodies were powerful, but they still weren't enough to be eaten by the griffins. An hour later, more than half of the two fire hornless bodies had been swallowed up. The griffins were savage and ferocious. They tore apart the fire hornless bodies, causing rivers of blood to flow. Many birds and beasts circling around didn't dare to approach. And at this time, Xia Zhilong arrived late, bringing a large number of masters with him. As he entered the valley, he discovered that there were so many vicious creatures eating the fire hornless bodies. The griffins also discovered Xia Zhilong and the others. They released the flesh and blood of the fire hornless and glared at Xia Zhilong. Xia Zhilong sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't dare to resist, so he turned and ran. Run! It was unknown who shouted this, but the voice changed, becoming hoarse and panicked. Less than 200 people fled back the way they came, rushing towards the plains. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. This group of people were all upper boundary masters. Their speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had fled over 1,000 miles. But the griffins were even faster. Screech, roar. More than a dozen griffins spread their wings and soared into the skies, rushing forwards. The vicious beasts and birds that didn't dare to approach the griffins also rushed forwards. Their roars shook the mountains and rivers, and their wings stirred up time and space. Airflow swept out like a turbulent river. Some of the weaker upper boundary masters couldn't even fly. They screamed as they plummeted to the ground. Roar. 2 or 3 griffins rushed forwards, their fangs piercing through the defenses. The upper boundary masters were torn apart, and not even their souls could escape. Crown Prince, save me, save me! But Xia Zhilong did not dare allow himself to be surrounded by the griffins. He was the first to escape. The upper-class warrior was instantly annihilated. Not even his bones remained. Roar! Numerous griffins and flying beasts chased after him relentlessly. The ferocious beasts flattened the mountain rocks as they charged straight through. Both sides fought endlessly, and blood flowed like a river. Xia Zhilong's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he was burning with rage. They hadn't even encountered Yi Qinghan yet, and they had already suffered such heavy losses. Roar! Xia Zhilong waved his hand behind him. 9 sky dragons came out of the 9-dragon fan. They went straight for the griffin Xenogeniac, buying time for his people. After all, the 9-dragon fan was a high-grade sacred artifact. It didn't have the aura of an eternal sacred artifact, but it was indeed an eternal sacred artifact. Its lethality was astonishing, forcing the griffin to retreat. Xia Zhilong kept attacking, buying time. The Blood Strike Guards, generals, and bounty hunters finally had time to catch their breath. They fought and retreated until they reached the plains. The Blood Strike Guards had lost 13 members, and the bounty hunters had lost 9. But the griffin Xenogeniacs didn't seem to want to leave the mountains and enter the plains. They were forced to retreat. Roar! The flying beasts fought for a while, but when they saw the griffins retreat, they had no choice but to give up on chasing Xia Zhilong and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! The remaining 100 or so experts let out a few deep breaths. They looked into the depths of the mountains in fear, then looked at the people around them. Their eyes were filled with anger and fear. Xian Xiu looked at this group of people and helplessly said, "Your Highness, we have lost another 30 people. We can't keep following them like this. Yi Qinghan and the other B***stards are causing trouble, and we have to take the blame. If this continues, we will be wiped out before we can catch up to them." Xia Zhilong was burning with anger, and his entire body was trembling. An unprecedented sense of defeat enveloped his heart. He comforted himself by saying, "This should have nothing to do with Yi Qinghan. They can't kill the two powerful hornless beasts. He was just passing by." Everyone looked at each other. Most of them understood that one of the hornless beasts had Yi Qinghan's aura, as well as Fan Yin's aura. How could such a violent aura have nothing to do with Yi Qinghan? "Your Highness, what do we do now?" Xian Xiu asked with a bitter smile. Xia Zhilong turned his back to the crowd, not wanting them to see his anger. He patted his chest, trying to calm himself down as much as possible. His eyes looked at the endless sea in the east, and he took a few deep breaths. "Ever since I saw Yi Qinghan, my luck has worsened," Xia Zhilong roared inwardly, clenching his fists. He really didn't dare to continue the chase. "Let's go directly to the entrance of the Coiling Dragon's secret realm and wait for them to arrive." After a long time, Xia Zhilong made a decision. He turned to the blood-robed guards and said, "All blood-robed guards, go deep into the island. Split up into groups of 2 and take care of each other. Find Yi Qinghan's true whereabouts and report back immediately." "We obey your Highness's orders." There were less than 70 blood-robed guards left. They were all injured, but for the sake of eliminating Yi Qinghan, they endured it and quickly left. Xia Zhilong looked down and waved his hand. He grunted and said, "Everyone, follow me." In the endless coiling dragon island, the Azure Emperor Luan actually had several nests. It led the 4 sleepy people into the depths of the island. There was an enormous ancient tree with long branches and roots that covered the sky. Ancient vines and thick trunks intertwined. It was a completely different world inside. Whoosh, the Azure Emperor Luan led the 4 into the tree. The nest was covered by leaves, making it look like a palace. There were high-grade saint artifacts hanging all around. There were even some immortal materials that had been gathered by the Azure Emperor Luan. "Humans, thank you for helping me take revenge. I also saved you once. Once your injuries are healed, you can leave. We don't owe each other anything." Qing Di Luan placed the 4 on the super acupuncture point and said in a clear voice. Yi Qinghan nodded gratefully. He took out a Holy Spirit stone and said respectfully, "Lord Azure Emperor Luan, thank you for saving my life. This Holy Spirit stone might be useful to you." The Azure Emperor Luan was a knowledgeable saint beast. It could tell at a glance that this was a Holy Spirit stone. Without any hesitation, it flapped its wings and swallowed the Holy Spirit stone into its stomach. Its wounds were actually healing rapidly. Yi Qinghan and the others were also healing their injuries. They didn't dare to relax. Time flew by. The scorching sun disappeared and was replaced by a setting sun. The stars in the sky flickered. Yi Qinghan was the first to open his eyes. The heavenly sacred stone in his hand had been completely absorbed and turned into dust. The power in his body was surging like the sea, endless and boundless. His power changed again, transforming into the eternal saint energy. At this moment, the Azure Emperor Luan looked down at Yi Qinghan. Its eyes shone as it asked indifferently, "Human, why did you help me?" Chapter 2075. Facing the Blue Emperor Luan's question, Yi Qinghan did not hesitate and immediately replied, "Lord Blue Emperor Luan, I helped you out of my own selfishness. First, I wanted to obtain the fireworm's inner core. Secondly, I wanted to help you. As for helping you, I believe that you are not an ordinary bird. You have already transcended the mortal world. Your intelligence is higher than humans, and you have feelings. Moreover, you spared my life before, so consider it as me repaying your kindness." Yi Qinghan's answer was flawless. The Blue Emperor Luan felt comfortable listening to it, but it did not feel that he was flattering it. The Blue Emperor Luan nodded and then continued to retreat into the depths of its nest, no longer caring about Yi Qinghan. The other three had almost been killed this time. Their internal organs had been displaced, and it took them more than 10 days to wake up. At this time, Yi Qinghan was guarding the three of them. He did not even have time to refine the inner cores. "How do you feel now?" Yi Qinghan immediately asked when he saw the three of them wake up. Fan Yin stretched her body, her lazy expression was very charming, and her figure was clearly visible. She opened her blurry eyes and asked painfully, "You bastard, you've caused me so much trouble. How long have I been unconscious?" Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "It's only been 10 days, but I gained the friendship of Lord Blue Emperor Luan and also obtained 2 fireworms' inner cores. It was worth it. You little bastard, it was worth it. The three of us were almost killed by you." Zhang Yingshi smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan shrugged and smiled flatteringly. "Everyone, don't be angry. 1,000 heavenly sacred stones per person. That should be enough to heal your broken hearts, right?" 1,000 heavenly sacred stones was enough to invite the strongest eternal saint of a holy land to act more than 10 times, let alone the three of them. Thus, Zhang Yingshi and the Son of Battle had nothing to say. Only Fan Yin did not hold back and scolded Yi Qinghan. "You idiot! Next time you risk your life for resources, I'll kill you with a single punch. Don't drag us down with you." Fan Yin raised her fist and threatened. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. The progeny of war and Zhang Yingshi stretched their bodies and stood up. They had recovered 90% of their divine energy, but their souls were still exhausted. At this moment, the Blue Emperor Luan spoke up. "Since you've recovered, then leave. There's no more debt between us." Yi Qinghan bowed respectfully and replied, "Thank you, Lord Luan, for taking me in for so many days. I still owe you. If there is a chance, I will definitely repay you. I will take my leave now." The Blue Emperor Luan's eyes stared at Yi Qinghan. Finally, it warned, "Human, it's best if you don't swallow the fire hornless core at this time. The fire poison and fire essence within the fire hornless core will instantly kill you. If you want to swallow the fire hornless core, wait until your cultivation reaches the upper realm." Yi Qinghan frowned slightly. The Blue Emperor Luan's warning was not just for show. He had wanted to wait for the three of them to wake up before swallowing one of their inner elixirs, but it seemed like he was overthinking. "Thank you, Lord Luan, for your reminder. I understand," Yi Qinghan said seriously. The Blue Emperor Luan pondered for a moment and reminded, "If you want to swallow the fire hornless core earlier, there is another way. That is to kill a top-grade water-type saint beast and take its water-type inner elixir. Then, you will be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. It will allow your cultivation to take another step forward." Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Fighting a top-grade water-type saint beast in the sea was tantamount to suicide. The 4 of them retreated, leaving the Blue Emperor Luan standing in the air, watching them leave. Yi Qinghan, Fan Yin, and the others walked in the mountains in a low-key manner, continuing to search for treasures and herbs. However, they still did not find any immortal herbs. The most important reason for coming to Coiling Dragon Island was to find immortal herbs. The gold-devouring toad, divine bird, and little money grubber were all free to search for treasures. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The star-twining vines, countless vines stretched out endlessly, escorting the divine bird and little money grubber. It was even more worried about their safety than Yi Qinghan. The little divine bird was relatively lazy. Its little claws tightly clutched onto Yi Qinghan's Taoist robes. It lay on all fours drowsy. The 4 of them entered the depths of the island. About half a day later, the star-twining vine quickly responded. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He smiled wickedly and said, "We found 2 upper-level blood-robed guards. It's a good opportunity to find out Xia Zhilong's arrangements and how many people he brought." Zhang Yingshi nodded. He thought for a moment and said, "The upper-level blood-robed guards are extremely vigilant. I'm afraid our position will be exposed before we even get close. We have to be careful." The four of them discussed and decided that Zhang Yingshi and the Son of Battle would team up, while Fan Yin and Yi Qinghan would team up. 2 against 1, they would launch a sneak attack. The four of them charged towards the north at an extremely fast speed. They hid within the mountain range and retracted their auras as they got closer and closer to the 2 blood-robed guards. The 2 powerful blood-robed guards were also extremely careful. They advanced step by step as they searched for Yi Qinghan's position. However, they didn't expect that Yi Qinghan's eyes were already not too far away from them. The star-twining vine was like an ordinary vine wrapped around a mountain, overlooking them. Their every move was seen by Yi Qinghan. The distance between the 2 sides was less than 1,000 meters. Yi Qinghan had them under his control, but they had no idea. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 4 of them charged forward once more. They could clearly see with the naked eye that they were moving along the mountain valley's walls. Yi Qinghan whispered, "Let's pincer them from both sides and subdue them as quickly as possible. We must not give them any time to transmit a signal." The 4 of them exchanged glances. Yi Qinghan headed towards the valley's entrance, the Son of Battle moved towards the valley's exit, Fan Yin remained in place, and Zhang Yingshi moved towards the opposite valley. They were surrounded on all sides. They moved slowly, not daring to be careless. Whoosh! The 4 of them took their positions. Yi Qinghan gripped the gravity frenzy, 3 silver needles appeared in Zhang Yingshi's hands, Fan Yin's string thread wrapped around his fingers, and the Son of Battle's scimitar shone brightly in the sunlight. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan moved, slashing his scimitar at one of the upper-level experts. Fan Yin swooped down from the sky, the string thread heading straight for the upper-level expert's throat. Boom! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's scimitar cut through the entire valley. It swept through everything, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the blood-robed guard. The blood-robed guard was shocked. He hurriedly pulled out his sword to block, but how could his upper-level sacred artifact resist the gravity frenzy, which was an eternal sacred artifact? His divine sword was cut in half, and the gravity frenzy tore through his defenses. Meanwhile, Fan Yin's string thread wrapped around his throat. Whoosh! The string thread cut through his throat, and the gravity frenzy tore through his abdomen. An expert of a generation was instantly split into 3. On the other side, the Son of Battle and Zhang Yingshi attacked at the same time. The Son of Battle's scimitar pierced through the blood-robed guard's armor, but the blood-robed guard's divine sword pierced through his shoulder blade. Meanwhile, Zhang Yingshi's 3 silver needles pierced the blood-robed guard's sea of consciousness, completely restraining him. In the blink of an eye, one of the blood-robed guards was dead and the other was injured. Zhang Yingshi controlled the injured blood-robed guard's soul and forcefully devoured his memories. He quickly found the memories of this operation. They have around 300 upper-level experts. Half of them are blood-robed guards, and there are also bounty hunters, the Holy Empire's 10 great divine generals, Xian Xiu and Xia Jilong. However, they took the blame for us twice and lost around 100 of them. Now there are less than 200 left. Zhang Yingshi's expression changed slightly. There are still over 70 blood-robed guards scattered in groups of 2. They're currently searching for us. Yi Qinghan licked his teeth and snorted. Since they've split up, they're giving us a chance. As long as we find these 70 blood-robed guards, they'll be nothing more than food. With the 4 of us working together, killing them will be a piece of cake. That's right. If we kill all the blood-robed guards, their losses won't be small, Fan Yin said excitedly. Zhang Yingshi smiled bitterly. This time, we've really offended the Holy Empire. The Son of Battle shrugged. The Holy Empire can't take revenge on us for such a shady matter. Chapter 2076. In the depths of the island, Yi Qinghan's group of 4 searched everywhere for the blood-robed guards, not even bothering to look for immortal herbs and materials. They killed the blood-robed guards on sight. The four of them worked together to kill two upper realm blood-robed guards, but it was not easy. Every step they took was frightening. If they were careless, both sides would suffer. The war progeny was injured in the first battle. However, his injuries were not serious, and he recovered quickly after using immortal herbs. The four of them grew more experienced, and the killing became easier. Their speed and secret techniques were much higher than the blood-robed guards. They were also faster, so the blood-robed guards could not retaliate. 3 days later, the four of them killed 6 groups of 12 blood-robed guards, a total of 73 upper realm experts. They had lost so many in one go. However, Xia Zhilong did not know about it. Otherwise, he would definitely go berserk. The start-whining vine, the divine bird, the multicolored snake, and the other divine pets worked together with the intelligent creatures on the island to search for the blood-robed guards. Their positions were quickly exposed to Yi Qinghan. Under the guidance of the star-twisting vine, Yi Qinghan and the other 3 experts attacked wherever they were directed. They didn't hold back at all as they killed and plundered their treasures. Wealth and resources rolled in. These upper-level cultivators definitely had a lot of resources in their storage rings, and the 4 of them split them equally. On the 10th day, half of the blood-robed guards were killed. Their numbers dwindled, attracting the attention of the other blood-robed guards. They continuously sent messages, but many of them did not receive any replies. This time, the blood-robed guards actually started to retreat. How could Yi Qinghan give them the chance to retreat? He continuously killed the blood-robed guard. This time, he did not hold back. He did not even care if they would send a message before they died. Half a month later, less than 13 of the 73 blood-robed guards remained. They had suffered heavy losses. The 13 blood-robed guards retreated together. When they tried to send a message to the other blood-robed guards, they received no reply. "It's over." The other blood-robed guards might have met with misfortune. One of the older blood-robed guards, who was more experienced, saw through the clues and warned in a deep voice. How could the 4 of them kill so many Dao brothers? Could it be that all of them have broken through to the upper level? A burly man roared furiously. "Sai, you're still young and don't understand Zhang Yingshi. Back then, she was a top-notch genius and could be considered a true disciple of the older generation. Her strength was far superior to Fanin's, and she was also in the upper level. If she wanted to kill the blood guards in the upper level, with the help of a legendary expert, it would be a piece of cake." The older blood strike guard expert shook his head. "Yi Qinghan and Fanin. Which one of them is easy to deal with?" Yi Qinghan fought the crown prince a few times and did not die. I don't need to explain his strength. As for Fanin, she is only second to the crown prince at the legendary stage. Now, with the support of the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams Taoist robe and the strings as an attack, it's very easy for them to fight 4 against 2. What should we do? We still haven't found any traces of Yi Qinghan, yet we've already lost 60 lives. If we split up again, I'm afraid we'll all be wiped out. Everyone looked at the old blood strike guard expert, hoping he could come up with some ideas. "Let's retreat and ask His Highness for help." Half a day ago, Yi Qinghan had already found out that the remaining blood strike guards had all gathered together. He had specially returned to the Azure Emperor Luan's nest and asked it to personally take action. The Azure Emperor Luan had originally been unwilling to take action, but since Yi Qinghan had saved it once, it was too embarrassed to refuse. In the end, it had taken action. The 4 experts and the Azure Emperor Luan pounced on the group of blood strike guards. How powerful was the Azure Emperor Luan? In the blink of an eye, the Azure Emperor Luan had pounced into the crowd. Azure light covered the sky and covered the earth, directly disrupting the formation of the experts. Its long beak pierced through the defenses, killing a blood strike guard and knocking the rest away. Boom! Yi Qinghan charged into the crowd with his saber. His aura was like a rainbow as he swept through the crowd, forcibly disrupting their formation. Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi took advantage of the chaos to kill, while the Son of Combat supported them from the outside, delaying the Blood Strike guards who were preparing to flee. Roar! Screech! The Azure Emperor Luan swept through the crowd, instantly killing 4 experts. Even their flesh and souls were devoured. Of the 13 experts, 7 had died in the blink of an eye. The remaining 6 were all seriously injured, but they were still fighting like cornered beasts. After one of them was killed by Yi Qinghan, the others were no longer in the mood to continue fighting. They prepared to charge into the distance. Boom! The 4 great martial artists and the verdant Emperor Luan seized the air and attacked. The verdant Emperor Luan's speed was extremely fast, far surpassing the other upper-level martial artists. In the blink of an eye, it had killed another 2 of the upper-level martial artists. The remaining 4 were all held back by the 4 great martial artists. After the Azure Emperor Luan descended from the sky, it casually finished off the upper-level expert who was fighting against the Son of Combat. Yi Qinghan, don't come looking for me if you have any problems in the future. Otherwise, I won't be polite. The Azure Emperor Luan tossed out these words, then soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace. Yi Qinghan grinned coldly. He continuously slashed with his saber, smashing the upper-level expert until he was forced to retreat. The Son of Combat assisted from behind, slashing his saber into the upper-level expert's back and tearing his body apart. The upper-level expert's blood-curdling screams could be heard for hundreds of miles. He had no chance to escape, so he could only charge toward Yi Qinghan, hoping to complete his mission. Yi Qinghan was wearing a Taoist robe, so no matter how hard he tried to stab him, he was unable to pierce through Yi Qinghan's defenses. Instead, Yi Qinghan's head exploded with a single punch. There were only 2 blood-robed guards left. One of them was the elder. He kept pestering Zhang Yingshi and said in a low voice, "Headmaster Zhang, you shouldn't have interfered in this matter. If you retreat now, I will definitely put in a good word for you in front of His Highness." The sword in Zhang Yingshi's hand was like a swimming snake. It was extremely powerful, suppressing the elder until he could not resist. A disdainful sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said indifferently, "What I need is not Xia Zhilong's appreciation, but an immortal pill. Die." Roar. Whoosh! At that moment, Yi Qinghan attacked from the side. He joined forces with Zhang Yingshi to encircle the strongest upper-level expert. With Yi Qinghan's support, fear appeared in the elder's eyes. He wanted to escape, but he did not have the chance. He wanted to fight, but he did not have the strength to do so. The other blood-robed guard had been unable to escape because of Fan Yin. Now that the Son of War had charged into the battle, after a long battle, the blood-robed guard's neck was entangled by the Son of War's blade. The blood-robed guard died on the spot. "Let's end this quickly," Yi Qinghan shouted at Fan Yin and the Son of War. Whoosh! Boom! The 4 experts encircled the strongest blood-robed guard at the same time. Sabers and swords flashed, and red lines cut through space and time. A moment later, the blood-robed guard was killed. "Take the storage rings. Don't leave the upper-level holy artifact behind. Take them all." Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the 4 quickly took the storage rings and divine weapons. In the blink of an eye, they fled into the depths of the mountains. At that moment, Xia Zhilong rushed over from afar with experts. When he arrived, he was completely stunned. The ground was littered with corpses. The corpses of the 13 blood-robed guards were badly damaged. He tried to contact the other blood-robed guards, but unfortunately, not a single one replied. 73 blood-robed guards had been completely annihilated. This blow caused Xia Zhilong's heart to burn with rage. He could no longer remain calm. Chapter 2077. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thump thump thump. The Holy Empire's 10 divine generals and Xian Xiu could clearly hear Xia Zhilong's breathing and heartbeat. It was obvious that he could no longer control himself. Xia Zhilong's handsome face was cold, and the cold flames in his eyes were almost solid. He looked into the distance, and he was so angry that he laughed, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. Ha 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 ha! Yi Qinghan. Such an enemy is really interesting. Xia Zhilong's words were filled with despair and anger. To be honest, there were so many experts that he couldn't even kill himself. However, they were all slaughtered by 4 ants in his eyes. Your Highness, please calm down. Xian Xiu hurriedly reminded him. Xia Zhilong raised his eyebrows and looked coldly at Xian Xiu. Calm down? What do you have to calm me down? Yi Qinghan's head or Fan Yin's head? Beads of sweat appeared on Xian Xiu's forehead as he bowed. At this moment, he understood that Xia Zhilong was extremely angry. If he angered him, he would be dead for sure. Your Highness, it's time for us to come up with a plan. A flawless plan. Let Yi Qinghan walk right into our trap. Only then will we be able to strangle him to death, said the mystic respectfully. At this moment, one of the 10 divine generals, Divine General Luo Fei, walked up and cupped his fist. Your Highness, being angry at this time won't change anything. Instead, you will lose your composure. Fellow Taoist Xian Xiu is right. We can't just blindly attack him. There are dangers everywhere on this huge island. If we chase after him, it's very likely that we'll help him take the blame and provoke a powerful sacred beast. Instead of taking the initiative to attack, it's better to wait for him. Divine General Luo Fei was a top expert of the older generation and had once fought with the 9 prefecture lords. Right now, apart from the 9 prefecture lords, the 10 divine generals were the strongest in the Holy Empire. Even the Holy Empire's emperor had to give them some face, let alone the leader of the 10 divine generals, Luo Fei. Xia Zhilong didn't dare to offend the 10 great divine generals. If it wasn't for the Cloud Dragon Sage asking the 10 great divine generals for help, he wouldn't have been able to command the 10 great divine generals by himself. So when Luo Fei spoke, he finally calmed down. Xia Zhilong took a deep breath and exhaled. He stared at the crowd and said in a deep voice, Everyone, let's think of a way together. Whoever can think of a way to lure Yi Qinghan into our trap will be rewarded handsomely. Everyone was silent for a long time. No one spoke. It was almost impossible to trick the 4 legendary experts. Which legendary expert was not a smart expert? Xian Xiu did not dare to speak carelessly. If he came up with a bad idea now, it was very likely that he would anger Xia Zhilong. Luo Fei's face was full of vigor. His masculine aura radiated in all directions. His face was dignified and wise. To be able to reach where he was today, he not only relied on his talent, but also his extraordinary intelligence. What advantages does this Yi Qinghan have? Luo Fei asked in a deep voice. Xia Zhilong frowned and looked at Luo Fei. Puzzled, he asked, Divine General Luo Fei, do you mean? Luo Fei said indifferently, You can't play your cards according to the rules for this kind of person. You need to rely on his strength. He will charge at us without any fear. Only then can we lure him into our trap. Otherwise, he will only fight with us. We can't just chase after him on this huge island. After all, it's too dangerous. Moreover, we have a lot of people, so we need to be careful. Xia Zhilong was enlightened. He immediately bowed and said, The older, the wiser. I'm impressed. Xian Xiu's eyes flashed as he immediately said, Divine General Luo Fei's words have enlightened me. Yi Qinghan has a gold-devouring toad and a divine bird that specializes in finding numinous treasures and sacred herbs. Is this considered his advantage? Yes. Divine General Luo Fei replied without hesitation. Then what do you mean, Divine General? Xia Zhilong's eyes lit up as though he had found a ray of hope. Now, let's see what the 4 of them lack the most. Divine General Luo Fei clenched his fists as the corners of his mouth curled up. He said firmly, "We can't catch the wolf without risking the child. Now we will place the item that attracts them at a place they will definitely pass through. Then we will surround this place and only leave them an opening. Once they enter the encirclement, we will quickly seal them off. Let's see where they can escape to." Xia Jilong fell silent for a moment. He naturally knew what Yi Qinghan's goal was. His goal was clearly the immortal herb, but he didn't. Xia Jilong pondered for a long time before taking out an item from his storage ring. It was a pure green jade with a blood-red object wrapped within. He looked at the item in his hand and hesitated for a long time. However, in order to kill Yi Qinghan, he gritted his teeth and made the decision. This is half a piece of sacred blood, the essence of an eternal saint. "I refuse to believe that Yi Qinghan won't fall for it," said Xia Jilong coldly. Divine General Luo Fei was alarmed as he hurriedly reminded him, "Let's use this as bait. Be careful that it doesn't return." "It's fine. As long as we surround the place he will definitely pass through. He won't be able to escape from my grasp," said Xia Jilong confidently. At this moment, Yi Qinghan and the others were all smiles. They should be satisfied with killing more than 70 blood strike guards in one go. This was the Holy Empire's worst loss in recent years. "Do you think that idiot Xia Jilong will go crazy?" Fan Yin asked, taking pleasure in Xia Jilong's misfortune. The Son of War and Zhang Yingshi both smiled, not knowing how to answer. However, Yi Qinghan shook his head and said with certainty, "No, even if he was very angry at that time, as long as Xian Xiu and the others remind him, he should know what to do. If he goes crazy now, we will seize the opportunity to defeat them one by one." Zhang Yingshi looked at Yi Qinghan and asked curiously, "Then what will happen to him now?" Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment, rubbing his fingers as he looked at the endless islands filled with danger. After a moment of silence, he said indifferently, "They still have the advantage in terms of numbers and strength. If I were him, I wouldn't split up. Instead, I would think of a way to lure them into a trap. I would find a place where the ferocious beasts wouldn't interfere and set up a trap." "Treacherous!" Fan Yin snorted. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He smiled and replied, "This isn't treachery, this is wisdom. As the saying goes, all is fair in war. If we all relied on our fists, how could there be a country or a holy land in this world? We would just roam the pugilistic world alone." The divine bird immediately laughed smugly and said, "Boss, I agree with you. This divine bird is a wise almighty. I can toy with a so-called prince like Xia Jilong like a child. The only idea he can think of is to use a supreme treasure to tempt you, then let you take the risk to enter a trap to obtain the treasure. Finally, he will close the door and beat the dogs. If I were him, I wouldn't do that." Fan Yin and the others snorted to express their dissatisfaction. However, Yi Qinghan asked, "If you were him, what would you do?" The divine bird said proudly, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend. If I were him, I would join forces with the wise divine beast. The 8 ferocious beasts on that mountain are the best targets to join forces with. TSK, think about how we destroyed their nest. If Xia Jilong knew how to go back and find those 8 ferocious beasts, even with the help of Lord Luan, we would still end up dead." Yi Qinghan and the others looked at the divine bird, their backs breaking out in cold sweat. Fortunately, this bastard was a friend. If it were an enemy, they would really be played to death. Chapter 2078. Coiling Dragon Island spanned from north to south. There were forests, valleys, tall mountains, and flowing rivers. Countless ferocious beasts occupied the island, and birds looked down from the sky. Mountain ranges that looked like crouching dragons surrounded the island, forming a place where divine dragons gathered. There was actually a palace that spanned across time and space and had been preserved to this day. The palace still retained a bit of the eternal suppression. Its aura was monstrous, crushing the sky. The blue sky and white clouds pressed down on the top of the palace. Because this was where the dragon vein was, even ferocious beasts did not dare to stay here. The identity of this place was obvious. It was definitely the place where the eternal saint resided. Therefore, after disappearing for so many years, even the powerful holy beasts did not dare to stay here for long. Xia Zhilong had actually found this place under the protection of the 10 divine generals and the bounty hunters. Divine General Luo Fei clapped his hands and said excitedly, "This is definitely a treasure land. The suppression here can completely conceal our auras. There are no flaws. As long as they find this place, they will definitely come in to explore. We can catch them all in one fell swoop." Xia Zhilong's eyes shone brightly as he said excitedly, "This is the ruins of the Eternal Saint's palace. There must be many treasures inside." Luo Fei nodded and said, "For the time being, don't look for the treasures here. Lure Yi Qinghan and the others here and kill them. The treasures here will belong to the fated ones." Many bounty hunters were extremely excited. They were blinded by the benefits. In order to fully attract Yi Qinghan and the others, Xia Zhilong took out the sacred blood again and placed it behind the throne in the central hall. "Everyone, find your positions. Don't leave any traces. When Yi Qinghan obtains the sacred blood, when he is the most excited and weakest, we will attack together and kill him in one fell swoop. At that time we will reward you according to your contributions," Xia Zhilong said in a low voice. "Yes. Thank you for your appreciation, Your Highness." Many upper realm experts bowed and retreated, quickly hiding in the depths of the palace. There was no aura at all. Even if there was, it was covered by the eternal suppression. Xian Xiu and the 10 divine generals hid in the halls around the central hall. Xia Zhilong hid in the central hall, constantly watching the back of the saint's throne. He was also afraid that the sacred blood would not return. Looking from the outside, it had been many years since anyone had come to the ruins of the Eternal Palace. Thorns and weeds were everywhere, covering the roads. The sacred herbs in the garden had been growing for countless years, as if they were about to take form and soar into the sky. Every stalk of sacred herb was priceless in the outside world. Spiritual qi assailed their nostrils, and this was a place where the dragon vein was visible. Not to mention the divine bird, even Yi Qinghan and company could find this place with their eyes. However, Yi Qinghan, Fan Yin, and the others did not set off immediately. Instead, they were trying to figure out how to break Xia Zhilong's trap. "We don't know where Xia Zhilong and the others have set up trap. As long as we can't be sure, any place with treasures could be where Xia Zhilong and the others have set up trap. They also have so many bounty hunters, 10 divine generals, Xian Xiu, and Xia Zhilong himself. Even if we have 40 people, we might not be able to withstand the combined forces of more than 100 experts, let alone 4 people. Therefore, we can't take the risk." Yi Qinghan sat on a rock and looked at the other 3 experts, discussing what to do next. "Since Xia Zhilong wants to set up a trap, it's impossible for us to detect its location. The next step is very tricky." Zhang Yingshi looked into the depths and sighed. They had not found the immortal herb yet, so this mission was a failure. The Son of War racked his brains but could not think of a good solution. He said helplessly, "We can't keep asking the Azure Emperor Luan for help, right?" Yi Qinghan shook his head and said, "The Azure Emperor Luan's strength is limited. 30 upper realm experts are enough to crush it. The remaining people can easily destroy us. If there's no other way, let's go back." "We can't risk our lives," Fan Yin suggested. Clearly, the Son of War and Zhang Yingshi were unwilling to leave just like that. They wanted to continue searching for the immortal herb. At this moment, the divine bird family of 3 was discussing. "Dad, if your boss is an idiot, then are his friends idiots as well? Why do they have to jump into the trap? Can't they go straight into the mystic realm through the plains?" The little divine bird asked in surprise. The little money grubber patted the little divine bird's head and sighed. Child, you're still young. You don't understand that there's a saying among humans, birds of a feather flock together. Everyone is fools in a nest. If your boss is a fool, then the whole world is a fool. Now, even your dad is a fool. Our family depends on you. The divine bird, Yi Qinghan, Fan Yin came to a sudden realization. That's right. You highly intelligent creatures, why do we have to find out where Xia Zhilong's immortal realm trap is? Can't we avoid it? The son of war nodded in agreement. That's right. I don't believe that Xia Zhilong would place his trap on a vast plain. Everything can be seen through at a glance. Let's go through the plain and enter the mystic realm first. Zhang Yingshi smiled. He looked at Yi Qinghan's speechless expression and couldn't help but laugh. Yi Qinghan scratched the back of his head and looked at the little divine bird's despicable expression. He couldn't help but feel speechless. Sigh, let's go through the plain. My mind has become fixed. I've always wanted to compete with Xia Zhilong. Instead, I've walked into a dead end. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. In the end, they didn't manage to come to a conclusion. They were all enlightened by this palm-sized divine bird. The divine bird was also speechless. It was also thinking about how to compete with Xia Zhilong, but it didn't think to take a detour and enter the mystic realm directly. It looked at its precious child again and really wanted to send it flying with a slap. However, it didn't dare. Otherwise, the little money grubber would fight it to the death. The four of them shook their heads and rushed toward the plains in the east. The plains were vast and boundless. The four of them approached the seaside and sped along the seaside toward the north. Xia Zhilong and the others were waiting for Yi Qinghan. They were confident that Yi Qinghan would definitely arrive here. However, they didn't expect to wait day after day. Even after waiting for a month, they still didn't see him. Xia Zhilong was getting a little anxious. Whoosh! Xia Zhilong slowly walked out of the palace. He carefully left the palace and looked into the distance. There was no sign of Yi Qinghan. This bastard, why is he always going against me? Xia Zhilong said angrily to himself. Luo Fei quickly rushed over and looked into the distance. He reminded in a low voice, a little impatience spoils a great plan. Your Highness, let's wait a little longer. They might be delayed by other treasures. Phew! Xia Zhilong exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and slowly returned to the palace to continue waiting. At this time, Yi Qinghan, Fan Yin, and the others arrived in the northeast. The thorns here were already soaring into the sky like ancient trees. The vines intertwined and completely blocked the way. They didn't even know where the entrance to the mystic realm was. The four of them looked into the distance and searched for the entrance. Boom, boom, boom. The sea roared. The 100-meter-tall waves slapped the sky. It was deafening and made one's blood boil. How many years has it been since someone came here? Yi Qinghan exclaimed. Chapter 2079. There were high mountains and high ridges, and the sea slapped the sky. The atmosphere was terrifying. Yi Qinghan and the others stood on a high ground, looking down at the thorny land. It was difficult to find the entrance to the secret land. There was not even a path, and it was difficult to move. There was a primitive smell everywhere. The smell of trees, leaves, and the rotten smell of beast bones mixed in with the primitive smell was not unpleasant. Instead, there was a faint fragrance. The spirit chi of heaven and earth seemed to be gathered here. This was definitely the sacred land of the Holy Land. The spirit chi of the endless sea was gathered here. The place where the dragon heads gather is close to the dragon vein, and the endless sea is rolling. The spirit chi here is probably richer than in the sacred land of the other Holy Land. Fan Yin exclaimed. Yi Qinghan was very curious and asked, why don't the holy lords of the other holy lands want to station here and create a new world? Humph! Zhang Yingshi and the others snorted and said lightly, it's not that they don't want to come, but they don't dare to. This place is very evil, especially for experts at the level of the eternal saint. The higher the cultivation, the more evil it is. Sometimes you have to be superstitious. Fan Yin nodded and agreed. Didn't I tell you before? The heavenly demon cult's cult leader disappeared here. No one knew if he was alive or dead. My old man came to check in person, but in the end, he couldn't find him and left in a hurry. He didn't want to stay at all. He told me personally that this place is very evil, and that I shouldn't come if I can. Ahem, Yi Qinghan smiled and said, I still want to take this place. At this time, even the son of war snorted at him. Yi Qinghan's courage was not ordinary. If it was really a place with good feng shui, would it be his turn to occupy it? The divine bird said seriously, I'm a nostalgic person. I was optimistic about the Shrouding Sky secret land from the beginning, so I don't care about this place. We'll just take the Shrouding Sky secret land. Zhang Yingshe retorted speechlessly, don't even think about the 10 great secret lands. That is the common territory of all the Holy Lands. You want to compete with 22 Holy Lands for territory? Bones can take you down one by one. That's not necessarily true. We, the proud sect, need a piece of land. When I become an eternal sage, they won't give it to me. I can beat them until they agree. I'm a peace-loving person, but if you anger me, no one will have an easy time. Yi Qinghan snorted. Fan Yin rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, You declared war on the entire great world. Don't expect us to help you. The old man won't help you either. Yi Qinghan shrugged his shoulders and proudly said, We have someone behind us, a great sage. When the time comes, even if the people of the Oshi Holy Land don't help us, for the sake of your sage, they should remain neutral. Even if the heavenly reaching church doesn't help us, they will at least remain neutral. I believe that Sir Sage Chess Venerable will also remain neutral. Even if Wu Tian and I become eternal sages, we will not necessarily be afraid of the Holy Empire. The Son of War took a deep breath. He knew that Lin Wutian's strength was not ordinary. He had a good relationship with Yi Qinghan. They had 2 eternal sages and a great sage behind them. If they wanted to snatch a secret realm as their base camp, few people would dare to offend them. Your sage is really going to marry Lin Wutian? Fan Yin was a little incredulous. This kind of unequal marriage was almost impossible. Yi Qinghan nodded and replied faintly, most likely. When this matter is over, I will go back and give them a deposit. Fan Yin shrugged. This kind of marriage was unprecedented. He was not optimistic about it. Yi Qinghan said no more. He looked into the depths and asked, You know this place. Where is the entrance to the Coiling Dragon secret realm? It's nearby, but I don't know why the light at the entrance disappeared. Was it blocked by someone? The Son of War frowned. He had prepared for a long time to come to the Coiling Dragon secret realm and was most familiar with this place. It shouldn't be. Let's cut these thorns first. Maybe there's another world, Zhang Yingshe suggested. The 4 of them waved their swords and cut the grass. The thorns were turned into powder. Only some ancient trees with special materials were left in place. 2 hours later, the land within 1,000 miles of this place was flattened. The thorns were all gone. The mountain range circled the sea. Standing above the mountain range, one could overlook the endless sea. The waves were in front of them, and the salty seawater was close at hand. The light at the entrance was indeed restrained by someone. It seemed to be to prevent people from entering this place by mistake. Boom! Yi Qinghan pierced the mountain range with his sword and plunged it into the mountain. He raised his hands from both sides and mobilized the power of the mountains and rivers to gather in his palms. He crossed his palms in front of his chest and pulled them down fiercely. A roar shook 1,000 miles. It was like a dragon's roar. The entire sea level sank more than 10 meters, and the impact spread hundreds of miles away. Roar! The sound waves with rolling divine power hit the void. All illusions were penetrated and revealed in front of the eyes. The visual impact was extremely shocking. Whoosh! A beam of light shot up into the sky and into the clouds. The beam of light wasn't very big. It was only about 1,000 feet in radius. It was like a mysterious cave. The entrance was revealed, and it was sparkling and magnificent. Although this sound didn't have a soul attack, the three of them were shaken until their faces were numb and pale. They couldn't help but take a few steps back. Their chests were heavy and their ears were buzzing. Yi Qinghan stopped and looked at the entrance. He waved his hand and pulled it up. The Taoist robe supported his body, and the transparent eternal glove covered his body. He was in his peak state. He faced the sea, and his black hair fluttered. This indifference, aura, and temperament made a veteran legendary expert like the Son of War feel inferior. Fan Yin looked at Yi Qinghan's vigorous side profile, and a strange expression appeared in his eyes. He looked a little dazed, and it took him a while to react. Xia Jiulong is different from you. He was nurtured. I feel inferior. No matter how much I nurture him, I will still lose to you. The Son of War sighed. Among the younger generation, perhaps only you can fight against Xia Jiulong. No wonder you attract so many women. If I were a few 100,000 years younger, I might also be infatuated with you. Zhang Yingshi sighed. Fan Yin snorted. What are you showing off for? Isn't it just a slightly stronger body? Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and replied, It's simple and effective. Why not? I'm not showing off on purpose. Let's go in. If we're lucky, we'll leave immediately after we get the immortal medicine. I feel that it's best not to stay here for too long. Whoosh! Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the others all activated their Taoist robes and armor. They were in their peak state. This was the most dangerous coiling dragon mystic realm. They could die here if they weren't careful. Yi Qinghan stepped into the mystic realm's entrance. He waved his hand and cracked the enchantment. He stared straight ahead and clenched his fists. He was afraid that something unexpected would happen. Not good. No one had come in here for a long time, so there were no ferocious beasts guarding the entrance. There was no danger. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of War followed closely behind. After stepping into the mystic realm, spiritual energy rushed into their bodies. They didn't need to circulate it themselves. It automatically turned into divine power to replenish their losses. This place is too perfect. Looking at the blue sky, white clouds, and the spiritual liquid that had condensed into a solid substance, the four of them exclaimed in unison. Chapter 2080. It was a perfect world. As far as the eye could see, there were peach blossoms floating in the air. Some of the immortal peaches were plump and tender, making one drool just by looking at them. The blue sky pressed down on the mountain range. The goshawk was galloping in the sky as if it was patrolling its own territory. The powerful bird was actually not inferior to the 8 ferocious beasts in the previous mountain. However, it was only a single bird, so it could not affect the 4 of them. Yi Qinghan and the others did not make a scene. Instead, they led the group into the dense forest. The peach blossoms floating above their heads were indescribably beautiful. This peach. Fan Yin muttered to herself in shock, not knowing how to describe it. Zhang Yingshi was experienced and knowledgeable. He quickly reacted and said in a deep voice, This is a variant of the supreme immortal peach. It should be because the immortal peach ripened and no one plucked it, so it fell and sprouted continuously. That's why there are so many immortal peach trees here. However, their grade is far inferior to the supreme immortal peach. I've seen this fruit before. A variant of this age is worth about 1 billion faith coins in the outside world. Fan Yin exclaimed. The fatal wound of an upper-level cultivator, it can instantly revitalize the body and bring the dead back to life. There are so many of them. We're rich. A supreme immortal peach tree had been developing for countless years. Who knew how many variant immortal peach trees there were? Looking around, there was a single tree 100 meters tall, and each one was several zhang thick. The roots were intertwined and the branches were luxuriant. How could this be just priceless? Yi Qinghan was trembling with excitement. He hurriedly asked, "Senior sister, the old man gave me that storage ring. Can I transplant them?" Fan Yin nodded repeatedly like a chicken pecking at rice. "No, but you have the celestial sacred stone. The immortal peach trees will definitely grow. However, you can't transplant the supreme immortal peach tree, and we can't find it either. Because it's already exceedingly good fortune, it can fly in the sky and burrow into the earth. Even the old man can't find it. Even if he can find it, he'll only need one immortal peach at most. It's impossible to capture it." A single immortal peach tree had exceedingly good fortune. Its strength was comparable to that of a great sage. Killing sages was as easy as nodding its head. A single branch could kill someone from 1,000 li away. Gulp! Even the divine bird was swallowing hard. Yi Qinghan swallowed several mouthfuls of saliva. With a wave of his hand, he opened his storage ring and absorbed the spiritual energy in the area. The spiritual energy tumbled and surged into the storage ring. The storage ring was equivalent to a small domain that could hold a living person. Yi Qinghan placed the 10,000 heavenly spirit sacred stones in a corner of the storage ring. He set up a huge array and actively absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to change the soil and air in the storage ring. An hour later, Yi Qinghan felt that the spiritual qi in the storage ring was almost full. Using his will, he exhausted his spiritual qi and instantly activated the storage ring. He actually trapped a part of the world inside the storage ring. The hundreds of immortal peach trees and the soil were all moved away. Poof! The old man's storage ring was not something that an ant like Yi Qinghan could easily activate, not to mention that it was used to take away a large number of immortal peach trees. Yi Qinghan was so tired that he coughed up blood on the spot. His entire body was weak, and he fell to the ground in exhaustion. However, he was still grinning evilly. Screech! The powerful goshawk roared angrily. Seeing that the immortal peach tree that it had guarded for countless years had been taken away, it charged directly at Yi Qinghan and the others. Whoosh! 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 Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi took the initiative to meet the attack. They stirred up mountains and rivers and shattered the void. They directly sent the goshawk flying. The two pursued the goshawk aggressively. Only then did the goshawk realize that these people were not to be trifled with and fled in panic. The son of war stood guard beside Yi Qinghan. He was extremely vigilant and did not dare to be careless. Yi Qinghan quickly sat cross-legged on the ground and took out an immortal peach tree from the storage ring. Although it was just an immortal peach, it contained a lot of immortal qi and was full of spirituality. It could change a person's body and flaws. In an instant, it could restore his spiritual qi and soul to peak condition. Ha 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 ha! Yi Qinghan laughed wildly and said excitedly, "With these immortal peach trees, won't my spiritual qi be inexhaustible?" Bah! Fan Yin angrily slapped Yi Qinghan on the back of the head and angrily lectured, "You wastrel! These immortal peaches are for you to save lives. They only ripen once every 100,000 years. You bastard, you use one every minute. Do you want to die?" Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He turned to look at Fan Yin and found that she was even more aggrieved than he was. "Ahem. Little Yi, this is your fault. Although these immortal peaches are not immortal medicines, to us, one immortal peach is equivalent to one life. One life, do you understand? You just ate a life." Zhang Yingshi smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan smiled. He felt that the power in his body was still surging. His spiritual qi was unprecedentedly strong. It almost reached the peak of the middle level. His body was also close to perfection. "I couldn't help it. I just wanted to see how useful these immortal peaches were." Yi Qinghan smiled and said. Fan Yin put her hands on her hips and roared like a hag. Did you test it? Yi Qinghan nodded, embarrassed. There were many immortal peach trees and fruits, but not many had ripened. There were only 100 or so, and they were very quick to use. Let's go deeper and look. Perhaps there are more. I don't believe that the supreme immortal peach tree has been here before. Yi Qinghan changed the subject. Fan Yin was too lazy to talk about Yi Qinghan. She angrily walked deeper. Less than 10 miles away, there were still some immortal peach trees that had just sprouted. Yi Qinghan did not let them go. He uprooted them and replanted them. Because there were many sky spirit holy stones in the storage ring, the immortal peaches did not wither after entering the ring. In fact, they were growing better. Swoosh, swoosh. Yi Qinghan and the others kept going deeper. The deeper they went, the thicker the spirit energy became. But there were no more immortal peach trees. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. He used his will to check out the treasures in the storage ring. He excitedly said, "There are 342 immortal peach trees. There are 230 mature immortal peach trees. There are 320 mature immortal peach trees. I'll give you 30 each. Are you okay with that?" "No. We'll split it evenly," Zhang Yingshi and Fan Yin said at the same time. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and spread out his hands, looking like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. 30. Take it or leave it. I don't have any more. I have a family to feed, old and young. At most, I'll give you another 30 every 100,000 years. Fan Yin and the others were speechless. If Yi Qinghan said he was generous, then he was really generous, but if he said he was stingy, then he was really stingy. Cough cough. Fairies, 30 is quite a lot, the Son of War said honestly. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out 30 mature immortal peaches. He gave them to the Son of War and said, "Brother Zhan, you are the most reasonable. They can take it or leave it. If they don't take it today, they will regret it tomorrow. They will only get 29 immortal peaches." Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This kind of man was really rare. They could only reach out and beg him. Yi Qinghan smiled wickedly and placed 30 immortal peaches in their hand. "Immortal peach trees. Give me 10 of them when we get back to the big world," Fan Yin said. Zhang Yingshi also asked for them. The Son of War was embarrassed, but he looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. He hoped to get a few immortal peach trees. Yi Qinghan was very generous this time. He said quickly, "Of course. Didn't I just collect some young saplings? Take them back and grow them for 100,000 years. They will grow." Fan Yin, the Son of War. Zhang Yingshi. "You are so greedy." Fan Yin was angry. She raised her fist and punched Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Chapter 2081. Yi Qinghan's generosity left Fan Yin and the rest speechless. There were so many mutated immortal peach trees, but he only gave each of them 10 saplings. Yi Qinghan laughed heartily. In the end, he promised to give each of them a mature mutated immortal peach. He did not want to spoil their relationship because of this. With a mature mutated immortal peach tree, the Son of War and the rest were satisfied. Yi Qinghan looked into the distance and said calmly, "Let's continue our search. No one has come here for many years. The sacred herbs should be able to take form, and their cultivation should have reached the destiny realm." Fan Yin's eyes flashed with excitement. She said excitedly, "Let's make this clear. The next time we see a mutated immortal peach tree, the 4 of us have to split it evenly." Yi Qinghan smiled evilly. Of course, even though they were split evenly, there were differences in size. Whether it was mature or not, Yi Qinghan would not be so generous. After all, he was the head of the family. He had to work for the welfare of the Kuang sect. Pride was not important. Filling their stomachs was more important. Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so treacherous. The Son of War did not mind. He relied on Yi Qinghan's luck and opportunity. He could get as much as he wanted. He would not yell at Yi Qinghan like Fanning. After all, they were martial siblings and had a good relationship. The son of war and Yi Qinghan were gentlemen. They were not close. The son of war knew when to advance and retreat. He was not too aggressive and did not fuss over every little thing. Otherwise, the team would have broken up long ago. The four of them continued to venture deeper. But not long after, the eagle that was beaten away brought back several beasts for revenge. They came from afar with great momentum. Roar! Yi Qinghan transformed into a dragon and soared into the sky. He roared at the beasts. Heaven and earth quieted down instantly. The void distorted, and everything seemed to be frozen. Force. The dragon auras might swept through half of the sky, and actually scared the few powerful flying beasts into retreating in panic. Screech. The goshawk glared angrily at Yi Qinghan, but it refused to leave. It was as if it had gone mad. Its sharp claws tore through the void as it charged toward Yi Qinghan. Roar! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's dragon's tail whip smashed through the sky. The wide area attack made it impossible for the goshawk to escape, and the goshawk was directly smashed into the ground. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan reappeared in his original form. His physical body was extremely holy, and he was bathed in holy light. He waved his hand and grabbed the goshawk's head. He realized that the goshawk's bloodline was much stronger than the god-devouring eagle's, so he directly summoned the god-devouring eagle. Yi Qinghan calmly said, "You're lucky. Devour the blood essence and evolve your own bloodline." The god-devouring eagle was overjoyed. It had not evolved for a long time. Now, it urgently needed the essence of a high-grade bloodline bird to evolve itself. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan actually tore the goshawk apart, causing blood to splatter all over the sky. The god-devouring eagle soared into the sky and devoured all the essence of the blood. Even the essence of the blood didn't escape. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and threw the goshawk's corpse to the god-devouring eagle. The god-devouring eagle opened its mouth and swallowed the corpse. Screech! The blood in the god-devouring eagle's body boiled. It roared towards the sky and flapped its wings, causing the clouds in the sky to collapse. Whoosh! The god-devouring eagle had absorbed a bloodline of a much higher grade than its own. It was rapidly evolving, but it couldn't withstand such a terrifying evolution. It could only turn into a wisp of imprint and rush back into Yi Qinghan's body, borrowing his powerful blood essence to evolve itself. Let's go. Yi Qinghan was as calm as the wind and clouds, as if he had just killed an ant. Fanning said, "What a perverted physical body. Whoever dares to go against him is simply courting death." Zhang Yingshi also shook his head. This high-grade goshawk had just gone crazy from anger. Otherwise, it wouldn't compete with Yi Qinghan in strength. The four of them sped through the mountains. The gold-devouring toad's hair stood on end, and it was in a highly excited state. High-grade materials were everywhere, but it was impossible for the four of them to mine this mine. Thus, Yi Qinghan could only give up. The mountains and rivers were boundless and endless. The four of them wantonly rushed into the distance. There were danger zones everywhere. Some terrifying ferocious beasts rested, but it was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Spirit herbs covered the sky and earth, and the spiritual energy was dense. Even as the four of them walked through the mountains, they could feel the divine power in their bodies slowly increasing. Whoosh, 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 the star-twining vine wantonly devoured the endless spirit herbs. The higher-grade sacred medicines were all delivered to Yi Qinghan's hands. The little divine bird and the little money grubber were also looking for high-grade sacred medicines. However, they wouldn't give them to Yi Qinghan. They kept all of them for themselves. Yi Qinghan also wouldn't ask them for them. Yi Qinghan walked very slowly. He searched very carefully. On one hand, he wanted the start-whining vine to collect more high-grade sacred medicines. On the other hand, he wanted the start-whining vine to evolve. If it could evolve to the middle level, his overall strength would double. If he could nurture the star-twining vine to the upper level, then no matter how many people Xia Zhilong brought, they would only be nourishment. The divine bird's main goal was the immortal medicine. If it could find the immortal medicine, it would at least be able to obtain 3 immortal pills. Then, the family of 3 would be settled. Whoosh, the divine bird searched for a long time. Suddenly, there was a flash of light. It pulled on one of the star-twining vines and rushed into the distance. A moment later, it stopped in front of a fiery red dragon-shaped sacred medicine, drooling. "Shoo!" the divine bird said cheekily. "Don't tell boss. I'll take care of you in the future." The star-twining vine was obedient. It didn't dare to go against the divine bird's will. It allowed the divine bird to take away the precious dragon-shaped sacred medicine. It was almost about to transform into an immortal medicine, but it was hidden away just like that. The star-twining vines protected the divine bird and constantly flattered it. The divine bird naturally wanted to reward it well. It took out a celestial sacred stone and said softly, "I hid some celestial sacred stones. Don't tell boss. If you need them in the future, just ask me. I'll take care of you. Who told me to be your boss?" The star-twining vine was wild with joy. It savagely swallowed the celestial sacred stone into its vines and rushed into its body. It stored all the energy and prepared to evolve in the future. The divine bird obtained the dragon-shaped sacred medicine. It didn't know what grade it was, so it didn't dare to study it. It was just curious what kind of medicine it was. Why does this thing look so much like a dragon? The divine bird looked at the dragon-shaped sacred medicine through the storage ring. It realized that it wasn't dispirited at all. It could actually grow tenaciously without much spiritual chi. It was relying on the celestial sacred stone. The dragon-shaped sacred medicine was emitting a thick red color. It bathed in holy light and wanted to transform and comprehend the great Tao. Once this dragon-shaped sacred medicine transformed, it would be easy for its cultivation to evolve to the great creation realm. The divine bird didn't dare to hesitate. It threw a dozen celestial sacred stones beside the dragon-shaped sacred medicine. Then, it took away all the other celestial sacred stones. There were actually 20 to 30,000 celestial sacred stones in its storage ring. It seemed like it had hidden quite a lot. Just as the divine bird was puzzled, it suddenly felt a faint dragon's aura drifting over from afar. It was very ethereal and almost undetectable. The divine bird looked into the distance in surprise. Its figure flashed and rushed into a cave with the star-twining vine. It realized that there was a faint light in the huge mountain. The pressure was getting stronger and stronger. It extended for 1,000 meters and almost drilled into the ground. There was actually a huge space underground. The divine bird looked at a huge round egg in the space. It was emitting the aura of a heavenly dragon. It didn't know how long it had been here, but the vitality in the egg was still boundless. Damn! An eternal holy dragon's dragon egg? The divine bird swallowed a mouthful of saliva. It wanted to take it for itself. However, it couldn't take away a dragon egg of this level with its storage ring. The star-twining vine wrapped around the divine bird, afraid that it would encounter an accident. The divine bird patted the star-twining vines and quickly said, "Go and inform the boss. As long as this dragon egg hatches, it will be equivalent to having a dragon saint." Chapter 2082. The divine bird was so shocked by the dragon egg that it even forgot about the sacred herb. The dragon-shaped sacred herb was clearly a dragon flame sacred flower. It grew by absorbing the saliva of the eternal holy dragon, which was why its level was so high. It was evolving into an immortal herb. This dragon flame sacred flower meant that there was an eternal holy dragon in this mystic realm. Who knew if it was dead or alive? If it were a normal person, they would have fled long ago. If they provoked an eternal holy dragon, They might not survive even if they fled to a great world. Yi Qinghan received the Startwining Vine's notice and quickly rushed to the cave where the divine bird was. Swoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan quickly rushed to the bottom of the cave and saw the dragon egg's boundless vitality. There were some skeletons beside it, but they did not have a trace of luster. With a light touch, they all turned to dust. At that moment, Fanyin, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of War rushed down. When they saw Yi Qinghan bending down to touch the bones and the scene of the bones turning to dust, they opened their mouths in shock. Yi Qinghan finally locked his gaze on the dragon egg. There was only one, about half the size of a person. Light flowed as if it wanted to rush out of the eggshell, but it did not have enough energy and could not break out. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and cut open his finger. He wanted to drip blood on it to claim ownership. Fanyin was shocked and hurriedly pulled Yi Qinghan back. She reprimanded, "Are you courting death? Don't you see all the skeletons around? They were all forcefully claimed ownership. Their vitality has been sucked dry by the dragon egg. Do you want to be killed by it?" Yi Qinghan took out 2 mutated immortal peaches and put one in his mouth. He took out a Holy Spirit stone and said excitedly, "I'm not an ordinary person. It can't swallow my vitality." 2 mutated immortal peaches and a Holy Spirit stone in exchange for a little holy dragon with the eternal holy dragon bloodline. It's worth it. This divine bird agrees. After hundreds of thousands of years, it will become an eternal expert stronger than humans. The divine bird agreed. Zhang Yingshi and company could not persuade Yi Qinghan, so they could only make him claim ownership with his blood. Whoosh! A drop of blood essence dripped into the egg, and a monstrous light burst out from the dragon egg, illuminating the cave as if it was daytime. Through this drop of blood essence, the dragon egg formed a connection with Yi Qinghan. Like a mother and son, it could forcefully absorb Yi Qinghan's godly power to hatch itself. Whoosh! The divine power in Yi Qinghan's body was rapidly disappearing. In the blink of an eye, it was all sucked dry. Crack! Yi Qinghan was about to shatter the immortal peach. The divine power in his body was rapidly recovering, like a funnel that was leaking at both ends. The peach of immortality provided the energy, and the dragon egg swallowed the energy. The light on the surface of his body was sometimes dim, and sometimes divine light flowed. Even the heavenly spirit saint's stone in his hand was quickly dimming. No wonder so many people were swallowed by the dragon egg, but it did not hatch. If Yi Qinghan did not have the peach of immortality and the heavenly spirit saint's stone, he would have been sucked dry by now. The dragon egg was like a bottomless pit. It had not absorbed so much divine power in so many years. At this moment, it was happily sucking and desperately stealing. It did not care if Yi Qinghan had enough divine power in his body. When the second peach of immortality was bitten, Yi Qinghan's expression changed. Gulp! Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and stared intently at the dragon egg. Because he had dripped his blood on the egg, he could see that the little dragon inside the egg was opening its mouth to absorb energy, as if it was never full. He could also feel its joy and excitement. At this moment, Zhang Yingshi, Fanyin, and the others were also nervous. Yi Qinghan could no longer control the storage ring. If he was sucked dry again, he could only let the dragon egg absorb his essence and life force. Prepare the peach of immortality and lend it to him, Fanyin reminded first. Whoosh! The son of battle and Zhang Yingshi did not hesitate. They each took out 2 peaches of immortality, one in their mouth and one in their hand. Bang! Zhang Yingshi was the strongest. He pressed one palm on Yi Qinghan's back and poured his divine power into his body. Time passed slowly, but after an hour, the divine power in Zhang Yingshi's body was completely drained. He could only chew on the peach of immortality to replenish his energy. Crack! Crack, crack, crack! Cracks appeared on the dragon egg. A dragon's aura rolled out and reverberated in the cave. Its bloodline was so noble that even the divine bird was frightened and fled into Yi Qinghan's blood and qi, not daring to emerge. The little dragon broke out of the egg and absorbed more and more energy at a faster and faster speed. The peach of immortality was quickly drained. Zhang Yingshi quickly put the peach in her hand into his mouth. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely. His skin was dry and cracked. The energy Zhang Yingshi was providing was far less than what the little dragon was absorbing. If this continued, he would be finished. Son of battle, you help him too. I'll be in charge of security. Fanning took out the string and stared at the cave entrance, afraid that they would be attacked. Whoosh! The son of battle also transferred all the energy in his body into Yi Qinghan's. After chewing on the peach of immortality, Yi Qinghan's body was finally filled with energy. The little dragon, which was originally the size of a small snake, quickly grew. It was as thick as an arm and about 1 meter long. It had 5 dragon claws and holy light pervaded the air. The powerful blood and qi surged, making the 4 experts feel pressured. 2 hours later, the little dragon finally opened its eyes and stopped absorbing energy. It looked at Yi Qinghan and opened its mouth to speak human language. Mother! Yi Qinghan sat on the ground, exhausted. He looked at the little dragon and raised its head. He was speechless and scolded softly, I'm your father, not your mother. Mother, don't be angry. I was too hungry just now. I'm full now. The little dragon was like a child who had done something wrong. It lowered its head and rubbed Yi Qinghan's chest. Yi Qinghan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He explained helplessly, I'm male. I'm really your father. The little dragon raised its head and asked curiously, Then who's my mother? Yi Qinghan slapped his head and pointed at Fanning and Zhang Yingshi. He smiled bitterly and said, Look at the 2 of them. Just pick one. Zhang Yingshi and Fanning were speechless. The little dragon grew very quickly. Some dragon scales actually grew on its body. Its dragon eyes were terrifying. It stared at Fanning and Zhang Yingshi with its big eyes, and they actually involuntarily took a few steps back. Mothers! My father is so valiant. The little divine dragon's immature voice sounded so strange. F***ck. You want to help your father pick up girls at such a young age? Birds of a feather flock together. Fanning scolded speechlessly. Yi Qinghan smiled. He waved his hand and kept the little dragon into his body. He climbed out of the cave and activated the rich spiritual energy in the air to recover his divine power. Light flowed, and his cultivation level actually began to loosen. He was about to break through to the upper level. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's doubts about the mysteries of the secret technique in the past suddenly became clear. At this moment, the immortal technique in his sea of consciousness also loosened. It automatically flipped to a page. Its mysteries soared to the heavens. One finger imprint after another rapidly evolved in his sea of consciousness. Each finger imprint contained the power to destroy the heavens and annihilate the saint. Pooh! Yi Qinghan only took a glance before his entire body sank into darkness. His face turned pale, and he fell to the ground with a loud bang. The child of war and the others were shocked. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to come at this time. What's going on? Little Yi, don't scare me. Fanning hurriedly helped Yi Qinghan up. She realized that his soul was about to shatter. Chapter 2083. Fanning was stunned by Yi Qinghan's current appearance. His soul had almost been annihilated. Things had happened so suddenly that she was caught off guard. What's going on? He wasn't attacked. How could his soul be so severely injured? The son of war and Zhang Yingshi asked in unison. Fanning was terrified. She shook her head. I don't know. His soul was almost destroyed. He must have been attacked by a mysterious force. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's soul was in a daze. In his mind, there were only the 3 fingerprints. They were very clear, but they were difficult to understand. Clearly, the power derived from the Tao scripture was enough to destroy the world and suppress Saint. However, his subconscious simulation could not stir up much of a storm. Slowly, although Yi Qinghan was unconscious, the blood in his body flowed in a strange way. The aura he emitted spread far and wide, causing Fanning, Zhang Yingshi, and the others to turn pale. "What's going on?" Zhang Yingshi retreated dozens of steps and asked in shock. "A secret technique that transcends saints and transcends mortality. Is this the opportunity he got at the heaven worship ceremony?" Fanning was shocked. She felt that his aura was even stronger than when he used the Taiji Immortal Cannon. And this was just his subconscious power. Yi Qinghan clenched the grass in his iron fist, frowning. His soul had been injured by the Tao scripture's finger technique, but now the Tao scripture had begun to heal him. His soul had become stronger, breaking through the shackles of the upper level. But his body and divine power were still at the peak of the middle level. Bang! A terrifying aura spread out from Yi Qinghan's body. It actually pushed out all the divine pets in his body. Roar! Divine bird, colorful snake, star-twining vine, god-eater eagle, they all fell to the ground in confusion. They crawled up and looked at Yi Qinghan's aura, confused. Only the little divine dragon was not pushed out. "What's going on? There's a force in the boss's body that doesn't fit in with us. It seems to despise us and threw us out," the divine bird said frantically. Fanning, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of War were all dumbfounded. The power in Yi Qinghan's body was too pure. It was purer than the saint power, and the pressure was comparable to that of an eternal saint. They couldn't even lift their heads or approach him. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's body flew into the air. He stretched out his arms and absorbed the energy of heaven and earth. Divine light shot out in all directions and his black hair danced wildly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. His Taoist robe fluttered in the wind, and his aura was monstrous. The power in his body was like an ocean. If it wasn't for the fact that his physical body was extremely holy, he would have been crushed by the godly power. Roar! Just then, a strange beast rushed over from the distance. It was huge, and its momentum was like a rainbow. With a wave of its claws, it crushed the mountains. It actually had the power of a saint. Its realm was almost beyond the saint realm, and it could enter the eternal realm at any time. It just lacked the recognition of heaven and earth. Oh no, it's a ferocious creature that's about to cross into the saint realm. It was attracted by the pure bloodline in little Ye's body. It wanted to devour his essence and become an eternal saint. Zhang Yingshi and Fanning exclaimed at the same time. "Take Brother Yi away. Let's escape. We can't beat this existence that is about to enter the saint realm. I'm afraid its combat power has surpassed that of the Blue Emperor Luan," the Son of War said in a panic. But Yi Qinghan's aura was too strong at this moment. Who could get close to him? Fanning couldn't, Zhang Yingshi couldn't, and it was even more impossible for the Son of War. At this time, even the divine bird couldn't get close to him. The star-twining vine, the multicolored snake, and the god-eater eagle couldn't do it either. "Stop it. Wait for little Yi to wake up." Fanning's Taoist robe was activated. He took the lead and blocked in front, unwilling to leave. Zhang Yingshi's face was pale. He knew that he was going to die, but he still didn't escape. The Son of War's cultivation was the weakest, but he didn't choose to escape. Instead, he resolutely flashed his scimitar. The battle intent on his body was monstrous. The battle intent of the Zhan family was more terrifying than anyone else's. The Saint battle technique caused the surrounding light to tear the void and intertwine. The visual impact was stronger than Zhang Yingshi's eruption of power. Roar! The mutated beast sped over from afar. It was extremely fast. When it opened its bloody mouth, the angry roar caused the powerful flying beasts to fall to the ground. They didn't dare to make the slightest movement. At that moment, Yi Qinghan's right hand made a strange gesture. His fingers circled and formed a saint seal. The boundless spiritual qi in the sky twisted and formed a finger seal. It tore through the void and headed straight for the ferocious creature that was about to become a saint. Boom! Hua hua hua! In an instant, the sky and earth cracked. Space collapsed. The finger seal tore through the 9 heavens and pressed down on the mutated beast. The mutated beast roared at the sky and used all its strength to slap the giant finger seal in the sky. Boom! A surge of energy rushed to the stars, but it couldn't destroy the finger seal. The finger seal was as strong as a rainbow. It pierced through the forelimbs of the mutated beast that was about to enter the saint realm. It ruthlessly broke through its defenses and finally pressed down on the mutated beast's head. Roar! The mutated beast screamed. Mountains and rivers collapsed, and the earth sank. Tens of thousands of miles of mountains and forests were razed to the ground. The mutated beast's powerful body turned into a bloody mist. Its flesh was torn apart and its bones were broken. It was like a kite with its string cut. Bang! The mutated beast's corpse flew back 3,000 meters, and the earth sank several thousand meters. It was like an endless abyss. The power of this finger was comparable to that of a saint. Even a mutated beast that was about to enter the saint realm was crushed by this finger. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's body was no longer glowing. His divine power had been sucked dry. His body fell from the sky without a trace of consciousness. The pressure dissipated. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of War were completely stunned. Their bodies were cold, and their eyes were full of fear. They looked at the mountains and rivers that had been shattered by this finger seal. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The star-twisting vine extended dozens of vines to wrap around the falling Yi Qinghan and safely placed him on the ground. Hiss hiss. The 3 of them took a deep breath. Their faces were horrified. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan, who was only at the peak of the middle saint realm, to have the power of a saint. What kind of secret technique was this? Whoosh! Fan Yin quickly rushed in front of Yi Qinghan and placed her jade-like fingers on his wrist. She found that his divine body was rapidly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. His soul had also returned to normal. She finally heaved a sigh of relief. What a powerful finger technique! A single finger can destroy a saint. Such a forbidden technique is comparable to that of a saint, the Son of War said in shock. Fan Yin looked at the 2 of them with a serious expression. She pleaded in a low voice, "My 2 friends, please keep what happened today a secret. Don't tell anyone. Only the 3 of us know. Otherwise, little Yi will definitely die." Zhang Yingshi and the Son of War nodded repeatedly. The divine bird looked at Yi Qinghan's pale face and wailed in grief, "Boss, you can't die. If you let a white-haired person like me send a black-haired person like you off, who can protect me?" "Shut up. He's fine," Fan Yin reprimanded in annoyance. The divine bird was still very worried. It hurriedly took out a few pieces of heavenly sacred stones and placed them in Yi Qinghan's hands. Yi Qinghan held the heavenly sacred stones. In the blink of an eye, the heavenly sacred stones were emptied of their spiritual energy and turned into dust. They couldn't tell how much power Yi Qinghan had in his body. After a while, his upper saint realm soul pulled on his divine power and tried to break through the upper saint realm bottleneck. Chapter 2084. Yi Qinghan's divine dragon bloodline was too high, so he activated the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture. Although it was only 1 page, it had the power to kill a divine dragon. At this moment, his soul benefited from the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture and broke through to the upper level, but his physical body and strength remained at the peak of the middle level. At this moment, he was trying his best to absorb the celestial sacred stone and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. A vortex of the 8 trigrams formed in the sky. Endless spiritual energy gathered in front of his chest and quickly turned into pure energy that flowed through his limbs and bones. His body quickly filled up and then slowly began to break through the bottleneck. Terrifying divine power surged, as vast as the ocean. The bottleneck was like a shore, as firm as a rock. It did not budge under the boundless power. Yi Qinghan was already awake when his divine power recovered. At this moment, he was full of energy. His blood and qi surged and turned into a violent blade that slashed at the bottleneck. Boom! Slash after slash on the bottleneck had no effect at all. The bottleneck of the upper level was so firm. Of course, not all upper-level cultivators in the world had such a bottleneck. For existences like Yi Qinghan, Fanning, and Xia Jiulong, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for them to break through to the upper level. However, once they did, those veteran upper-level cultivators were no match for them. Even existences like Zhang Yingshi could not contend against them. The bottleneck seemed to be protected by an immortal technique. The mysterious light flowed in reverse. Any attack was ineffective against the bottleneck. Yi Qinghan's brows twitched slightly. He secretly said, "Why is the bottleneck like this?" Yi Qinghan opened his disdainful eyes. The light in his eyes was brighter than the stars. His temperament was otherworldly. It was as if he was no longer a mortal. He was completely reborn, just like the immortals in the legend. Fanning and Zhang Yingshi gasped. The moment Yi Qinghan opened his eyes, they felt as if their hearts were about to explode. "It's over. I've fallen." Fanning and Zhang Yingshi's hearts were in a mess. They quickly avoided Yi Qinghan's disdainful eyes and pretended to think. The Son of War only felt that Yi Qinghan had become stronger and more terrifying. He did not feel that this temperament would attract him. After all, his sexual orientation was completely normal. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stood up and flipped his palm. His divine sense wandered around his body. He had no idea what he had experienced. What happened just now? Yi Qinghan looked at the three of them and asked with an innocent expression. The Son of War took a deep breath, stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in shock, "You don't know what you've done?" Yi Qinghan scratched his head and furrowed his brows. He couldn't help but feel that what had just happened was like a dream. You destroyed a ferocious being that was on the verge of becoming a saint with a single finger. Even its corpse was crushed by you. What sorcery are you using? Fanning stared at Yi Qinghan and asked. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He looked at Fanning in shock. He felt that she was not joking. Only then did he confirm that the movement of his finger was not an illusion or a dream. It was real. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes. He felt the movement of the divine power and the hand seals of the sacred finger of annihilation. He realized that if he moved a little, the sacred finger of annihilation would immediately drain his power. The immortal technique of the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture. Yi Qinghan roared. He did not expect a single page of the Taoist scripture to be so powerful. Zhang Yingshi looked at Yi Qinghan's ignorant face. He tugged at his sleeve and pointed into the distance. "Look at your masterpiece." The earth had sunk thousands of miles, forming a bottomless abyss. The mountains were flattened. Yi Qinghan looked at his masterpiece. He suddenly realized that he knew nothing about power. Was it really caused by my finger? Yi Qinghan touched his finger and muttered to himself in shock. Just then, the divine bird pounced over and cried sadly. "Boss, I thought you didn't want me anymore. I can't even enter your bloodline now. What kind of demonic technique are you cultivating?" Yi Qinghan waved his hand to catch the divine bird. He was a little confused. He took the initiative to take the divine pet into his body. His divine sense wandered in his sea of consciousness. He found that the little divine dragon had actually fallen asleep in the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture. The heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture was still the same. The profound laws spread out. Ripples of light sparkled and immortal qi lingered. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment. His 10 fingers slowly formed a hand seal. He mobilized the power of the mountains and rivers. The spirit chi in the mystic realm quickly gathered in front of his chest. The first move of the sacred finger of annihilation. Whoosh! Boom! The finger could move mountains and overturn seas, and its aura could soar into the galaxy. It flattened several mountain ranges in front of it as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The earth collapsed, but its might was far inferior to what he could release unconsciously. Even so, an upper-level cultivator would not be able to be killed by this finger. Using 50% of my power and borrowing the power of the outside world to cause such damage. It can indeed be considered an immortal technique. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. He was still a middle-level cultivator. Killing an upper-level cultivator with a finger was shocking enough. A powerful upper-level cultivator's soul scanned the surroundings and controlled thousands of miles. The advancement of his soul caused a qualitative change in his speed. His speed increased by at least 3 to 5 times. Yi Qinghan disappeared in front of the 3 in the blink of an eye. He was far faster than Fan Yin. Even Zhang Yingshi's peak speed might not be comparable. Whoosh! After a moment, Yi Qinghan returned to his original spot. He was extremely excited. Ha 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 ha! With my current strength, even Xia Zhilong's peak combat power won't be a threat to me. Even if he has the holy dragon robe, I can still beat him. Yi Qinghan laughed. Xia Zhilong was going to give up his position as the strongest of the younger generation. However, he did not know that once Yi Qinghan was born, Xia Zhilong would hate him. Smack! Just as Yi Qinghan was getting excited, Fan Yin slapped him on the back of the head. You'd better wake up. Once your strength is exposed, you're already half a step into the coffin. When your profound finger seal is exposed, you'll be hunted down by the eternal saint himself. Fan Yin scolded him impolitely. Yi Qinghan sniffled. He had no words to refute. I'll keep a low profile. You guys, help me keep this a secret. Yi Qinghan smiled sheepishly. Fan Yin snorted. Keep a secret? You bastard! How dare you lie to me? You dare say that you didn't get the sacred finger seal from the heavens during the worship of the heavens ceremony? How did you answer me when I asked you what you got? Bang! Fan Yin stretched out her jade-like leg and kicked Yi Qinghan's thigh. Yi Qinghan smiled sheepishly and patted the dust off with a wry smile. How dare you lie to me? To think that I was so considerate of you! Fan Yin roared angrily. The son of war and Zhang Yingshi both smiled and turned away, leaving the two to argue. Yi Qinghan reached out to Fan Yin and comforted her. Senior sister, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but this is no small matter. I don't dare to say it. Fan Yin pushed Yi Qinghan away and asked angrily, Then tell me, did you get the sacred finger seal? Or do you have other secret techniques? Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and replied helplessly, This is only one of the finger techniques in the celestial arts. However, I can't see the other secret technique. The saint-destroying finger was only triggered by the little holy dragon by chance. Chapter 2085. Fan Yin was a little jealous and angry that Yi Qinghan hid the truth from her and did not believe her. Thinking about it carefully, this kind of thing could not be told to outsiders. If the son of war and Zhang Yingshi let it slip, Yi Qinghan would be dead for sure. Yi Qinghan comforted her repeatedly, and she finally calmed down. This is a warning to you. If you dare to lie to me again, I'll beat you to death, Fan Yin said coquettishly as she kicked Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan grimaced. Although it did not hurt, he still cooperated with her. Bastard! Fan Yin snorted and turned to go deeper. Yi Qinghan smiled and stepped into the abyss he created. He could still feel the terrifying aura coming from the Saint-Destroyer finger. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and felt the terrifying aura. He tried to understand the finger technique, but he did not dare to use it. The slightest movement would drain all the energy in his body. The Saint Destroyer finger was not to be used before he reached the Saint realm. Its destructive power was too great and unimaginable. The most terrifying thing was that it consumed an unimaginable amount of energy. Even his holy golden body could not withstand the Saint Destroyer finger's energy consumption. When I reach the Saint realm, will I be able to kill a saint with one finger and be comparable to a great saint? Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and absorbed the aftershocks of the Saint Destroyer finger. He recalled the three-finger techniques of the Saint Destroyer finger, each more terrifying than the last. It is indeed a blessing from the heavens. I just don't know the difference between the Saint Destroyer finger and the Great Saint technique. Which one is better? Yi Qinghan did not see the Great Saint attack, so he could not estimate the Great Saint's strength. However, the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage cut off all the death chi of the Nine Serenities Master with a casual slash. Such a celestial technique was already extraordinary. In his sea of consciousness, the little divine dragon coiled around the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture and relied on Yi Qinghan's divine power to grow. Yi Qinghan always felt that the power in his body was disappearing into thin air, but his body was involuntarily absorbing thick spiritual energy from the outside world, transforming it into pure saint power. The golden body of Absolute Saint and the secret realm formed a great circle. Heaven and earth were the golden body, and the golden body was also the golden body. With every step he took, Yi Qinghan felt his strength increasing. Coincidentally, the spirit chi in this mystic realm was overflowing, which was enough for him to recover. No wonder I can't break through the shackles. Is it because my strength hasn't reached the limit of my peers? Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. With his strength, even if he didn't use the sacred annihilation finger, he could still kill an upper plane cultivator and destroy a Xian cultivator. At the very least, he could stand on equal footing with Xia Jilong. Once he used the sacred annihilation finger, he could instantly destroy Xia Jilong's invincible legend. As Yi Qinghan's strength increased, the four of them charged towards the sacred medicine without any fear. The four of them worked together and swept through mountain after mountain, snatching the sacred fruit. Every sacred fruit was priceless. Outside the secret realm, the ferocious beasts fled. They were no match for Yi Qinghan's attack. Yi Qinghan wielded his saber and ran amok. The third seal had been broken, and now he could use it with ease, unleashing even more strength. At this time, as long as they didn't encounter any ferocious beasts that were about to cross into the Saint Plane, Yi Qinghan and the others could do whatever they wanted. The sacred annihilation finger that Yi Qinghan used now was definitely not on par with the sacred annihilation finger from before, so ferocious beasts that were about to cross into the Saint Plane could definitely kill them. A few days later, the four of them occupied a mountain range. The mountain was filled with sacred fruits, all of which were excellent sacred products. To Yi Qinghan, these sacred fruits were the best sacred products for brewing wine. Once they were brewed into immortal wine, it would definitely be more valuable than drunken immortal wine. Yi Qinghan didn't stand on ceremony and transplanted these fruit trees into his storage ring. He specially used hundreds of celestial sacred stones to feed the fruit trees, causing the spiritual energy in the storage ring to surge to the sky. It was almost condensed into a physical substance, and it started to rain. While Yi Qinghan and the others were training in the secret realm, Xia Jilong and the others were still waiting in the Eternal Palace. The more they waited, the more anxious they became. Xia Jilong lay on the bridge and took a deep breath. He was tired from waiting. Divine General Luo Fei had always been calm, but at this moment, he was furious. He had set up such a huge formation, but Yi Qinghan still hadn't arrived. Luo Fei found Xia Jilong and said in a deep voice, "Your Highness, we can't keep waiting like this. Who knows if Yi Qinghan has returned or entered the secret realm? If they return, won't we be waiting for death?" Whoosh! Xia Jilong reached out and grabbed the sacred blood plasma. He flew down from the bridge with a gloomy face and clenched his fists. He said in a deep voice, "Enter the secret realm. I believe they are in the secret realm. Even if they don't enter the secret realm, we have to enter the secret realm to search for treasures and make up for our mistake. What if Yi Qinghan comes out of the secret realm and misses us? Won't we miss out on a good opportunity?" Luo Fei asked in a deep voice. Xia Jilong was silent for a while before replying, "Take the other 9 divine generals and 20 upper-level bounty hunters and wait at the entrance of the secret realm. I will take the rest of the people in to search. As long as Yi Qinghan is in the secret realm, we have to kill them on Coiling Dragon Island." Luo Fei said proudly, "Take the rest of the people with you. Your safety is the most important. The 9 divine generals will be enough to kill them." Xia Jilong looked at Luo Fei and nodded. "Then I'll have to trouble you, divine general. There's no time to lose. Let's move out now." Luo Fei walked out of the hall. He couldn't even be bothered to search the Eternal Palace. Xia Jilong took everyone and rushed to the entrance. Half a month later, he arrived at the entrance. When he saw the thorns that had been cut off, he became even more certain. Yi Qinghan and company must have entered the secret realm. Luo Fei said in a deep voice. Xia Jilong sneered and said in a sinister voice, "Since you have entered, don't think of leaving alive. The 9 divine generals will stay with me outside the secret realm. The rest of you, enter the secret realm for your highness. Anyone who kills Yi Qinghan will be rewarded with a large city and 100 million strands of wealth on behalf of the Holy Empire." Luo Fei said in a deep voice. Xia Jilong's sacred dragon robe augmented his golden body. He looked down at everyone and said in a deep voice, "Divine General Luo Fei understands my intentions. Divine General Luo Fei will definitely fulfill his promise. I will also promise that as long as I don't fall, the city will not be destroyed. Everyone will have a death exemption medallion that will protect you for life." "Thank you, Your Highness." "Thank you, Divine General Luo Fei." The experts bowed. "Follow me into the secret realm." Xia Jilong waved his hand and brought more than 80 bounty hunters with him. They opened the secret realm's entrance and charged in. As soon as they entered the secret realm, they were stunned by the density of the spirit qi here. The fertile soil around them seemed to have been moved by someone. Furthermore, the area was not small. Soon, they knew that Yi Qinghan had obtained a treasure from this place. Xia Jilong squatted down and touched the moved soil. He snorted and said, "It hasn't been long since we left. Let's go deeper." Whoosh! Xia Jilong and Xian Xiu led a large group of bounty hunters deeper into the secret realm. They found that there were no sacred herbs or treasures nearby. They flew faster and faster. After flying for about 10 days, they didn't encounter a single ferocious creature. It wasn't until they sensed a shocking aura in this abyss that they discovered the corpse of a ferocious creature that was about to be conferred the title of saint that even Xia Jilong was incomparably shocked. "There's an eternal saint here?" Xia Jilong cried out. Chapter 2086. Whether it was an eternal saint or an eternal level monster, it didn't matter which one it was. At this moment, even Xia Jilong and Xian Xiu's expressions changed, let alone the bounty hunters. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. This kind of combat power could kill 100 experts in one strike. Let's retreat." Some of the bounty hunters wanted to retreat and said in horror. Xian Xiu was also furious. He pressed on the ground, which was still emitting a terrifying aura. It was very dense and the soil was fresh. He said in shock, "From the looks of it, this deep pit should have been created recently. It's at least 3,000 miles away. Is that existence nearby? Maybe Yi Qinghan and the others were also blown to smithereens by this attack. Your Highness, should we retreat?" Another bounty hunter suggested. No one dared to go any deeper. The experts looked at each other, hoping to leave this damned place immediately. Xia Zhilong naturally hoped that Yi Qinghan had been blown to smithereens by this attack, but he couldn't be sure. How could he report back? If he told the Cloud Dragon Sage that Yi Qinghan was dead, who could bear the responsibility if Yi Qinghan appeared again? If he lied to an eternal saint, the Crown Prince would not be able to escape death. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xia Zhilong hesitated. If they continued to go deeper and encountered an existence with great fortune, they wouldn't even be able to withstand a single slap. Everyone was silent for a long time. Xia Zhilong still didn't dare to report back, because the Holy Empire's Holy Emperor was about to come out of seclusion. If they didn't use this time to kill Yi Qinghan and take back Yi Qinghan's Taoist robe, how could they fight for a chance to survive? Crack! Xia Zhilong clenched his iron fists and narrowed his eyes. Everyone, search every corner of this deep pit. If you find the Yinyang 8 trigrams Taoist robe and 7-foot maniac, we will retreat. If you can't find them, this mission must continue. Cluck cluck cluck. Many people were so scared that their teeth chattered, but no one dared to disobey Xia Zhilong. They could only spread out to search for the robe and 7-foot maniac. The more he searched, the more he could see the extent of the abyss. The more terrified he was of the power of the eternal saints, the more he did not dare to go deeper. After searching for more than 10 days, nearly 100 people finally gathered again. Everyone returned empty-handed, and their faces were deathly pale, including Xia Zhilong. Ho ho ho! Everyone's breathing quickened as they shook their heads, indicating that they had not found the target. It's impossible for an eternal saint to destroy the Taoist robe and berserker. Without these two things, Yi Qinghan might still be alive. Let's go deeper. As for my previous promise, I'll double it. As long as I become a saint, I'll definitely guide you and try my best to cultivate you into an eternal saint. As the saying goes, one can't become rich without a windfall. Do you want to stay in the upper level forever? Xia Zhilong said in a deep voice. Great rewards would attract brave men. Who wouldn't want to be appreciated by an eternal saint? The difference between an upper-level saint and an eternal saint was only one level, but the difference in combat power was like the difference between heaven and earth. Just like the difference between a mortal and a cultivator, it disappeared in an instant. Xian Xiu swears loyalty to your highness. Xian Xiu saw that everyone was a little hesitant, so he took the initiative to express his stance, hoping to resonate with everyone. When Xian Xiu was born, many bounty hunters were lonely. They hoped to reach a higher level, so they all spoke up to support Xia Zhilong. At least half of the experts chose to follow Xia Zhilong. Even if the remaining bounty hunters were afraid of death, they did not dare to retreat at this moment. They were afraid that Xia Zhilong would fly into a rage out of humiliation and kill them first, so they could only suppress their shock and choose to follow Xia Zhilong. Xia Zhilong saw that everyone was willing to follow him and nodded in satisfaction. He smiled and said, "You didn't let me down. I won't let you down." "Thank you, Your Highness," everyone said excitedly. Everyone was blinded by greed, but they did not know that being with a ruler was like being with a tiger. A ruler's heart was unpredictable, and he was good at burning bridges after crossing the river. "Let's continue." Xia Zhilong waved his hand and led everyone out of the abyss. They continued to go deeper, following Yi Qinghan's path and getting closer. Yi Qinghan and the others weren't slow. However, Yi Qinghan was the type of person who would take advantage of every opportunity to search for treasures. His storage rings were filled with treasures that he had plundered, so they wasted quite a bit of time. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of Battle finally understood. Yi Qinghan did not mind if the spirit herbs were too weak. As long as they could be used by a sector lord, he would not give them up. The places he went would not be able to recover without 100,000 years. At this moment, Xia Jilong was looking at Yi Qinghan's path and was a little angry. This method of taking advantage of every opportunity made the secret realm too miserable. It was not much better than the sealed sky prison. The distance between the two parties was getting closer and closer. Xia Jilong did not notice, but Yi Qinghan, who was in front, felt that someone was following them. His powerful soul spirit covered thousands of miles and kept spreading outwards. The more he looked behind, the more he felt that something was wrong. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. He looked behind and was a little worried. He said to the other three, "Wait for me here for a while. I will go back and take a look." Whoosh! Yi Qinghan turned into a bolt of lightning and was much faster than Fan Yin. Even Zhang Yingshi, with his cultivation level, did not notice how Yi Qinghan left. An hour later, Yi Qinghan arrived at a mountain peak. He stood at the top of the mountain and looked into the distance. He saw Xia Jilong leading close to 100 experts and speeding ahead. They all held weapons and were 3 to 5 miles apart. Their divine senses could cover each other, and they were all searching for something. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose and muttered, "You guys are really haunting me. So many Bloodstrike guards have died, but you still don't give up. Xia Jilong, how much do you hate me? Do you have to kill me to be at ease?" The two parties were still a few hundred miles apart. Yi Qinghan only used his upper realm divine sense to observe this group of people. After confirming that it was this group, he slowly retreated. "Is there any good way to kill them all without using the Saint Destroyer finger?" Yi Qinghan asked calmly. "If you kill Xia Jilong at this time, you will completely fall out with the Cloud Dragon Sage. At that time, it won't just be Crown Prince Xia Jilong who will deal with you, but the Cloud Dragon Sage himself. Why don't you let him live and kill everyone else?" The divine bird reminded. Yi Qinghan nodded and agreed. "Before I break through to the Saint Realm, Xia Jilong cannot die. Dealing with a middle or upper realm Xia Jilong is much safer than dealing with the Cloud Dragon Sage. Actually, we don't even need to do anything to kill dozens of bounty hunters in this huge danger zone. We just need to lure them into the nest of some ferocious beasts and kill 3 to 5 at a time. They will all be dead in a few months," the divine bird said calmly. Yi Qinghan was speechless. "We'll do it your way. We'll wait for them and lead them into the ditch. I have all the time in the world," Yi Qinghan said with an evil smile. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan quickly retreated. Half an hour later, he quietly appeared in front of the Son of War and the others and said calmly, "Xia Jilong and the bounty hunters are behind us. Let's wait for them." Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the others could not help but observe a moment of silence for Xia Jilong. The Yi Qinghan of today was no longer the Yi Qinghan of the past. If they killed this time, rivers of blood would flow. Chapter 2087. The Son of War had an awkward expression as he smiled bitterly. "Do you really want to kill Xia Jilong?" There was no doubt that if Yi Qinghan wanted to kill Xia Jilong, it wouldn't take much effort. However, Xia Jilong's identity was no small matter. The Holy Empire could execute him, but even a saint would have to pay the price in blood. They might even be suppressed forever. The Son of War couldn't help but remind Yi Qinghan that Xia Jilong really couldn't be killed. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "Kill him? Why kill him? I still have to protect him out of the coiling dragon's secret realm. He can't die for the time being, or I'll have to face the Cloud Dragon Sage." "Then why are we waiting for them? Can't we just leave their sight?" Zhang Yingshi asked helplessly. He really didn't want to get involved in the grudge between Yi Qinghan and Xia Jilong. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said indifferently, "We'll teach him a lesson. Kill everyone around him, but we won't do anything. We'll lead them to a dead end and let the beasts kill everyone around him." The Son of War was speechless. Offending Yi Qinghan really wasn't a good thing. Zhang Yingshi was the first to know Yi Qinghan. He understood his vengeful personality very well. He knew that Xia Zhilong wouldn't have a good ending if he chased after them, so he could only sigh. Xia Zhilong was a legend back in the day. No one in the younger generation could contend against him. No one could shake his position as the number one. Now that Yi Qinghan had appeared, if he was defeated by Yi Qinghan in a big occasion, Xia Zhilong's legend would instantly be shattered. Xia Zhilong's Dao heart would probably shatter. The four of them waited for about 6 hours before Xia Zhilong chased after them with a group of people. However, Yi Qinghan's divine sense was extremely powerful, and his soul had already reached the upper level. He was far stronger than those bounty hunters, so he sensed their arrival in advance and left ahead of time. However, he left a huge mark on Xia Zhilong's group. A bonfire that hadn't been extinguished. Xia Zhilong was in a good mood when he chased after the bonfire with a group of experts. Ha ha ha, I've finally found your tracks. The fire hasn't been extinguished yet, so you should be nearby. Chase after them. Xia Zhilong's aura surged with boundless heroism. His figure shot straight into the clouds and searched in the air. He found that the resources in the northwest had all been emptied. Yi Qinghan must have passed by. Head towards the northwest. Increase your speed and restrain your aura. Surround them and kill Yi Qinghan first. If anyone else dares to participate in the battle, kill them all. Xia Zhilong said forcefully. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Nearly 100 upper-level experts transformed into lightning bolts and pounced towards the northwest. The more they chased, the faster they became. However, they did not know that what awaited them ahead was death. Ahead, 3,000 li away, was the Purple Cloud mountain range. Ferocious beasts roamed freely within the mountain range. Flying beasts soared into the sky, breaking the Milky Way. Roar! Screech! The birds and beasts fought each other, dyeing the sky red. They fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth split, the mountains and rivers changed color. Yi Qinghan retracted his aura, and a wisp of the sacred dragon's aura enveloped the three of them, concealing their human aura. They stood on a mountain peak and waited for Xia Zhilong to arrive. The powerful sacred dragon's aura carried with it surging upper-level aura. Even if there were birds that saw the four of them, they would not dare to approach. Yi Qinghan's soul wrapped around the little sacred dragon, and his aura became one with it. His divine sense covered 8,000 miles. Xia Zhilong was getting closer and closer to the mountain range. Although there were many ferocious beasts in the valley, they were all fighting for themselves. He did not care at all. Hence, he brought nearly 100 experts and charged straight into the mountain range. The mountain range stretched endlessly. Xia Zhilong's sacred dragon robe exuded a surging aura. With a gentle movement of his 9-dragon fan, he shook the heavenly river. His disdainful eyes looked down on all living beings as he stepped into the depths of the mountain range. Yi Qinghan watched as they entered. His aura changed instantly, and the sacred dragon's aura surged into the clouds. Roar, roar! Yi Qinghan transformed into a sacred dragon and roamed the Purple Cloud mountain range. His roar caused the clouds to disperse. This sacred dragon orders all beasts to kill all humans who trespass into the Purple Cloud mountain range. Those who dare to defy this sacred dragon's will be killed without mercy. The terrifying sacred dragon's aura surged into the heavenly river and swept out in all directions. Roar! Screech! Countless ferocious beasts soared into the sky. Regardless of whether they were intelligent sacred beasts or unintelligent ferocious beasts, they were all affected by the sacred dragon's aura and charged towards Xia Zhilong and the others. Boom boom boom! Tens of thousands of ferocious beasts charged toward them from all directions. Xia Zhilong's expression changed and he roared, "Go back the way you came from! Charge back with all your might! Protect the crown prince and kill our way out!" Xian Xiu roared. Many bounty hunters glanced at the sacred dragon from the corner of their eyes. How could they be willing to protect Xia Jilong? If they died here, so what if Xia Jilong's status was high? F*CKU. Protect your grandpa. Swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. Dozens of great experts fought their own battles. Sabers and swords swept in all directions, killing countless weaker ferocious beasts. Corpses littered the ground, and blood flowed like a river as they fled toward the outside. However, more and more ferocious beasts and sacred beasts charged over. They smashed the mountain range and tore the ancient trees apart with their fangs. A mournful scream announced the death of an upper-level expert. More and more high-level ferocious beasts and sacred beasts joined the battle, killing their way into the group of bounty hunters. 3 to 100 ferocious beasts surrounded a single human, and in an instant, the experts were all defeated, suffering heavy casualties. Experts fell one after another, and the bounty hunters fought with all their might. Their eyes were red from the killing, and they charged toward the outside without regard for their lives. At this time, there was no one to protect Xia Jilong. Xian Xiu was the only one who could protect his master. However, he could not withstand the attacks of so many ferocious beasts. In a short period of time, his battle robe was stained with blood. Xia Jilong roared and waved his hand to summon 9 divine dragons. The sacred dragon robe also erupted with a divine aura, crushing all the beasts and forcing the low-level ferocious beasts to flee. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Xia Jilong could not be bothered with the others, but he could not ignore Xian Xiu. Hence, he reached out and grabbed Xian Xiu, then charged into the sky. The sacred dragon robe and the golden body did not dare to come close, and they quickly rushed out of the mountain range. Roar! Furious roars rang out as the torrent of beasts crushed the mountain rocks. Some experts could not escape in time, and their bodies were directly crushed. Even their souls were crushed into powder. There were dozens of upper-level experts, but in the face of the ferocious beasts in the entire mountain range, they were quickly drowned out, and the experts' souls were turned into ashes. Yi Qinghan slowly returned to his original form, and his aura was restrained. He rushed back to the mountain peak and looked at the chaos in the mountain range. Organs and flesh were scattered everywhere, and blood flowed like a tide. However, his expression did not change. He watched as Xia Jilong escaped with Xian Xiu, and he did not think of killing the two of them. Sigh, Zhang Yingshi sighed and said, "Poor Xia Jilong. Why did he provoke someone like you?" Fan Yin said unhappily, "This idiot has never suffered a loss. Today, I'll teach him a lesson. Let's see how arrogant he can be in the future." Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "Let's go. When the beasts wake up and can't find the sacred dragon, it will be our turn to be attacked." Chapter 2088. Yi Qinghan and the other 3 left the Purple Cloud mountain range. There were still dozens of bounty hunters in the valley, but in the blink of an eye, there were only a few left. They were still fighting to the death. Blood flowed like rivers between the mountain ranges, dyeing the ground red. Corpses piled up like mountains, spreading for thousands of miles. Countless ferocious creatures were slaughtered. The bounty hunters were definitely not weak, and the lethality of a trapped beast struggle was not to be underestimated. A trapped beast was still a trapped beast. In a situation where there were ferocious creatures everywhere, even if Xia Jilong did not run, he would be dead for sure, let alone these dozens of bounty hunters. Xia Jilong's dragon might was too strong. With the protection of the holy dragon robe, he escaped with Xian Xiu. They ran for 30,000 miles, and his eyes were about to spit fire. He landed in a valley, panting, and roared in despair. "Heavens, are you going against me as well? Why did you give me the imprint but not the corresponding fate? Why are you always biased towards Yi Qinghan?" Xia Jilong roared. Even now, he did not know that the holy dragon was Yi Qinghan's transformation. Xian Xiu sighed helplessly and said in despair, "Your Highness, there are only 2 of us left. There are 4 of them, and they are not weak. It seems that this mission cannot be carried out in this mystic realm. Why don't we retreat and wait for them at the exit?" Xia Zhilong was silent for a long time. A wisp of an imprint echoed in his mind. It was an unprecedented imprint, the immortal sealing imprint. Although Xia Zhilong did not know what this imprint was for, he knew that it could kill people, and it could kill existences stronger than him. "We can still kill Yi Qinghan without relying on that bunch of trash," Xia Zhilong said gloomily. "Help me stall Zhang Yingshi. I will kill Yi Qinghan. Your Highness, safety is the most important. There is no need to risk your life for Yi Qinghan's lowly life," Xian Xiu advised earnestly. Xia Zhilong looked at Xian Xiu coldly and asked, "Do you think I'm afraid of death? Or are you afraid of death?" Xian Xiu hurriedly replied respectfully, "Your Highness, you've misunderstood me. I'm not afraid of death, and you definitely aren't afraid of death either. However, I'm afraid that something will happen to you. Your body is priceless, and Yi Qinghan can't compare to it. Your Highness, please reconsider. In any case, Yi Qinghan has to leave the mystic realm. There's no need for you to take the risk with him." Xia Zhilong snorted coldly. "This emperor doesn't want him to live a moment longer." Xian Xiu smiled bitterly. "Your Highness, there's no need to be so calculative with an ant. Let him live for another 3 to 5 months and search for more treasures for your Highness. This can be considered as letting him show off his last bit of light and warmth." Xia Zhilong was silent for a long time. He clenched his iron fists and looked at the purple cloud mountain range behind him. He recalled the abyss from before and was also afraid of encountering an eternal existence. Finally, he took a deep breath and nodded. "Xian Xiu, this emperor knows of your loyalty and that you're doing this for my own good. Forget it. I'll listen to you this time. Let's return to the mystic realm and wait for him." Xian Xiu was overjoyed. He quickly bowed and said, "Thank you for your understanding, Your Highness. Your Highness understands my painstaking efforts. I have no regrets even if I die." The 2 of them left. Yi Qinghan and the others also left the Purple Cloud Mountain Range. So many bounty hunters had remained in the Purple Cloud Mountain Range. None of them had escaped. They had all died. The 4 of them sped through the mountains with smiles on their faces. They traversed the mountains and plains, saw the ancient vicissitudes of the mountains and rivers, and searched thousands of miles for treasures. The vast world of the past had no traces of humans. The palaces had also decayed and scattered with the wind. Some were buried deep in the mountains and could not be found. Hundreds of birds chirped softly, accompanied by the light wind that slowly flowed through the sky. After traveling for 4 months, they arrived at a large plain area. Thick thorns were even larger than ancient trees. Countless vines intertwined and blotted out the sky. This should be the human world of the past. After so many years, even the palaces and cities have been surrounded by weeds and have decayed. Zhang Yingshi looked at the endless mountains and rivers and sighed. How can there be eternity in this world? It will all be eroded by time and disappear. Fanine and the son of combat fell silent. They could not refute Zhang Yingshi. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and replied, "Time is eternal. Whether we are here or not, time will always pass. I don't feel tired. Space could collapse, mountains and rivers could be eroded, and the world could be destroyed. Only time would not change. The heavenly Tao in the firmament was replacing it. Time would not be destroyed." The 3 of them were stunned as they pondered Yi Qinghan's words. Yi Qinghan said firmly, "I believe that it is possible to achieve true eternity. Of course, it is not the current eternal saint. Eternal saints can be killed. At the very least, I have seen the corpses of eternal saints." Zhang Yingshi was silent. She had also seen the corpses in the underground palace, so she did not believe in eternity. The son of war and Fanine had not seen the corpses of eternal saints, but it did not mean that they did not know that eternal saints could be killed. Therefore, when they heard Yi Qinghan's words, they did not show much emotion. Tell me, under what circumstances can one achieve eternity? Zhang Yingshi stared at Yi Qinghan and asked. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while before replying. Since time can be eternal, I believe that as long as one can create time, one can achieve eternity. I suspect that the eternal saint realm is the true eternity. He thought about how the heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage could kill death with a wave of his hand, reverse reincarnation, and give the 9 serenities master countless years of time. If such an existence was not eternal, then who was? Although the 4 of them did not discuss the Tao strictly, the fact that they dared to propose their own theories was an improvement. At the very least, they had set a goal for themselves. Create time. Time could change everything. This was Yi Qinghan's goal. The 4 of them walked forward silently, all thinking. After the 4 of them walked for half a year, a melody suddenly sounded in the sky. It was low, slow, and orderly. The 4 of them stood on the spot and stared blankly at the sky. It was as if the sound of nature came from the sky. The sound of nature was filled with desolation, sorrow, and despair. It was a little like the sound of an ancient Eru instrument. It seemed to be narrating the final struggle of a decaying old man who was about to die. It was very immersive. As the 4 of them listened to the melody, they felt as if the speed of time and space had increased by countless times. It was as if the melody was narrating their own story. Yi Qinghan and the others showed a trace of panic and sorrow. They wanted to struggle, but they could not move. Looking at the 4 of them from the outside, their faces were rapidly aging. In an instant, more than 100,000 years of life had passed. At this moment, the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness trembled slightly. It blocked the mournful sound in his mind and woke Yi Qinghan up. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and saw that his skin had become dull, dry, and old. He could not help but be shocked. He looked at the other 3 and saw that they were aging faster than him. A trace of fear appeared in his eyes. This melody could actually change time. The other party must be a heaven-defying existence. Just a mournful sound was enough to kill the 4 of them. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to take out his bamboo flute. He mobilized his soul spirit and blew into the mountains and rivers. The solemn and heroic melody intertwined with the mournful sound in an attempt to protect the other 3. Hua hua hua. The 2 melodies intertwined. Yi Qinghan used the melody to attack the other party's melody, but the other party's melody took the initiative to contain Yi Qinghan's melody. The 2 sides were not on the same level. Chapter 2089. A melody could distort everything, change time, and kill people without them noticing. Only Yi Qinghan knew that the melody was not targeted at them. It was a random feeling. Otherwise, Zhang Yingshi, Fanning, and the Son of War would all be dead. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan played his flute. The melodious sound of the flute reverberated through the sky. He wanted to wake the 3 of them up and fight for their lives. The flute was the natal flute of the Green Lotus Sword Fairy. It was very powerful and could subtly affect Yi Qinghan's soul. The melodious sound of the flute increased its power by dozens of times. It merged with the melody and changed the essence of the melody. Fanning, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of War finally woke up. Their eyes were filled with fear. They felt that they had experienced a lifetime and walked on the edge of death. Their mentality changed. After the essence of the melody changed, everything that Yi Qinghan and the rest experienced returned to normal. The sound of the flute continued. Yi Qinghan played his bamboo flute. The strong wind blew his Taoist robe and black hair. The sound of the Eru was the same. It was filled with despair and sadness. It was like the rhythm of the heavens and earth. Yi Qinghan looked into the distance. He did not dare to relax and retreated slowly. The son of war, Fanine, and Zhang Yingshi also retreated quickly. The four of them walked slowly. After leaving the plain, the melody disappeared. Yi Qinghan almost collapsed to the ground. He had used 90% of his soul to activate the bamboo flute. At this moment, he leaned against an ancient tree, exhausted. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thump thump thump. Fanine, Zhang Yingshi, and the rest felt their hearts beat wildly. Their chests rose and fell and their faces turned pale. I just experienced a lifetime and felt death. Fanine muttered. Me too, Zhang Yingshi and the son of war nodded. The melody of death. In that instant, the three of them were almost pulled into the gates of hell. Once they died, even the heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage could not revive them. The melody was enough to destroy their souls and destroy them completely. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and squatted beside the tree. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead with his sleeve and sat cross-legged on the ground to absorb spiritual energy to restore his soul. After a long time, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. He looked at the plains in the distance and said in a deep voice, "There are ghosts in the depths. We can't go any deeper." Fortunately, we didn't go too deep. Otherwise, we would have been dead for sure. Fanine rejoiced. Yi Qinghan nodded. At this moment, he could still vaguely hear the melody. After about 6 hours, the melody of death disappeared, as if it had never appeared in the first place. Yi Qinghan was somewhat hesitant after the melody of death disappeared for a day and a night and still did not reappear. "I'll go in alone to take a look. You guys stay here," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. At this time, it wasn't just Fanine. The son of war and Zhang Yingshi also firmly stopped him. "No, there's no need for you to explore this kind of melody at this time. You'll die. We've already obtained many opportunities. It doesn't matter if we don't have the immortal medicine. Don't even think about it. Come back with me." Fanine rudely twisted Yi Qinghan's ear and forcefully pulled him back the way they came. Yi Qinghan was speechless. He wanted to break free from Fanine's hand, but she had used her godly power. The only way to break free was to rip off his ear or shatter her hand. Obviously, neither of these methods would work. He could only let her pull him forward. "Senior sister. Hey, my dear sister, let go. I won't go, okay?" Yi Qinghan repeatedly begged for mercy. "I'd be an idiot if I believed you. Come with me." Fanine rudely scolded. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and bent over. "I swear, before I reach the upper level, I won't explore the melody of death. Otherwise, I'll be impotent for the rest of my life. Senior sister, let go." Ha ha ha. The son of war and Zhang Yingshi both laughed heartily. Only then did Fanine let go. She slapped him hard on the back of his head and scolded, "Don't be so brainless next time. You won't be so lucky every time. Once you lose, it's all over. Don't forget, you have a family to feed." Yi Qinghan laughed awkwardly. He knew that Fanine was worried about him, so he didn't get angry. He could only follow Fanine and take another route to continue searching for the sacred medicine in the periphery. But less than a day after the four of them left, a demon appeared in that place. She had already taken human form and was extremely lucky. The beautiful demon was so beautiful that she didn't seem human at all. One look and you could tell that she wasn't human. She was so beautiful that words couldn't describe her. She was holding a leaf in her hand, and her eyes were like torches as if she was searching for something. She was an eternal saint-level existence. Her lotus-like footsteps covered thousands of miles with each step. Her divine sense covered the area and found Yi Qinghan and the others. Her figure flashed and stopped the four of them. Dong dong dong. The four of them were so shocked by this figure that their hearts were about to explode. At a glance, Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end and he took a few steps back. His Taoist robe automatically protected him. His face was pale as he looked directly at the demon's face. Although she was indescribably beautiful, He couldn't feel any admiration. The beautiful demon looked down at the four of them. Her thin lips moved slightly, and she asked indifferently, "Who was the one who played the flute 2 days ago?" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The four of them breathed rapidly and were horrified. They didn't expect to meet an eternal saint-level existence who had taken human form here. She was extremely lucky and could kill them with a wave of her hand. It's me, my lord. We didn't mean to disturb the saint." Yi Qinghan tried to control his emotions. He was even more afraid than when he met a human eternal saint-level expert, because she didn't care about feelings and didn't fear human forces. Fanine looked at the demon and swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva. It wasn't that he liked this woman, but that he was so scared that he didn't know what to do. The demon ignored the other three and stared at Yi Qinghan. She stretched out her snow-white fingers and said coldly, "Take out the flute and let me see it." Yi Qinghan was horrified. He didn't dare to go against her will. He stretched out his hand and handed the flute over. He bowed and placed it in the demon's hand. He didn't know what the demon's true form was. She reached out and held the flute. She gently played the flute, which was many times better than the flute played by Yi Qinghan. "So it's the natal item of a supreme saint. No wonder it can travel countless miles and disturb my thoughts." The demon's eyes were like the brightest stars. They were emotionless and emotionless. She stared at the flute and muttered to herself. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to say anything. He could only pray that the demon wouldn't make a move. Otherwise, even if he could survive, Fanine and the others would die. The demon could tell that the original owner of the flute was a supreme saint with great fortune. Even so, she didn't show any emotion. She looked up at Yi Qinghan and reached out to grab Yi Qinghan. Her figure flashed, and they were thousands of miles away in an instant. Whoosh! Time and space reversed and the stars moved. Time seemed to accelerate. Whoosh! After a day and a night, the demon brought Yi Qinghan across countless miles. They appeared in an endless, desolate palace. Profound mysteries soared into the sky, and laws filled the air. It was unknown how many years it had stood here. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to resist. He looked at the demon with a pale face, not knowing what she wanted to do. Chapter 2090. On the main road deep in the palace, hundreds of flowers bloomed all around. The fragrance was overwhelming. Many sacred herbs that were more than hundreds of thousands of years old swayed in the wind, planning to transform and soar into the sky. The two of them stood on the bluestone road, looking at each other. "What is your name?" The demon stared at Yi Qinghan for a long time and asked coldly. Yi Qinghan immediately replied, replying to Supreme, "This junior is Yi Qinghan. The orphan of the great Shang world?" The demon flipped her hand and a bamboo flute appeared in her hand. She asked coldly. The great Shang world was the heaven-shrouding secret realm, the world of the green lotus sword immortal. He did not expect this demon to know about this world. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a moment, then bowed and replied, "You can say that I am from the great Shang world. I have some opportunities with the green lotus sword immortal. However, I come from a small region called the Land of Sinners by the people of the eternal world." The demon's voice was so cold that it could freeze an upper realm cultivator. Her cold eyes stared at Yi Qinghan. She could feel Yi Qinghan's emotions and knew that he was telling the truth. She then nodded and asked, "Then do you know who I am?" Yi Qinghan did not know who she was and could only shake his head. "You can call me Bailey Chenxiang. I do not have a real body. I am a substance formed by the fragrance of hundreds of flowers in this world. I was fortunate enough to listen to the great sage's teachings countless times. Thanks to that, after countless years of bitter cultivation, I comprehended the creation and transformed into a human form. As long as the flowers and sacred herbs in this world are not destroyed, I will not die," the demon said coldly. Yi Qinghan looked at the demon in puzzlement. He did not understand what she wanted to do. What did this have to do with him? Why did she capture him and bring him here? Are you curious why I captured you? Bailey Qinxiang stared at Yi Qinghan and asked indifferently. Yi Qinghan nodded repeatedly. Bailey Qinxiang was silent for a moment before she said, "This place is called the Coiling Dragon Realm. Back then, the master's surname was Bailey and his name was Dragon Immortal. He was the creator of the Coiling Dragon Realm, and also the father god of all living things in the realm. He disliked war and had never made enemies with anyone. He only accompanied the flowers and all living things, but he was suppressed by the people of the eternal world. Even now, his corpse is still missing. Back then, he had a divine pet, the eternal holy dragon, but it was also suppressed. However, the holy dragon laid an egg, which I released into the outside world. Now that you have obtained it, you can be considered to have received kindness from him." Yi Qinghan widened his eyes and said in confusion, "You think too highly of me. With my little strength, if I were to carry your shoes and massage your back, you would think that my cultivation is too low. How can I help you? Of course I don't need your help. However, I need you to act as a middleman. Let me find the master of this flute. I will ask her for help." Bailey Qinxiang raised her hand and the flute appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Green Lotus Sword Immortal could not even protect herself. How could he help her take revenge? To tell you the truth, Green Lotus Sword Immortal was also seriously injured back then. Now she has lost half of her origin. She is now in hiding. It is impossible for her to join hands with you to take revenge, Yi Qinghan said helplessly. When Bailey Qinxiang heard this, her mood immediately turned bad. Her gaze towards Yi Qinghan was no longer gentle. Instead, it was like a bone-piercing knife. When Yi Qinghan saw this, he knew that the situation was bad. He took a few steps back. His eyes flashed and he quickly said, "I have good news to tell you. However, you have to send me out after hearing it." "That depends on whether your news is really good or not," Bailey Qinxiang said coldly. "If your father is also a great sage, I can guarantee that he is definitely not dead. This is because the Holy Empire's Holy Lord cannot kill such an existence. He can only suppress their soul and prevent them from fusing with their body. It is just like Green Lotus Sword Immortal. That year, Green Lotus Sword Immortal was also like this. However, I accidentally saved her. If the Holy Empire's Holy Lord cannot kill Green Lotus Sword Immortal, he certainly cannot kill your father, Bailey Longxian, right?" Yi Qinghan said solemnly. Sure enough, when she heard this news, Bailey Qinxiang's eyes flashed with a strange light. She was incomparably excited. "Is this true?" "Of course. I dare not deceive the Holy Lord." The two looked at each other again. Yi Qinghan did not show the slightest bit of fear. The fragrance of flowers pervaded the air. Bailey Qinxiang's aura became stronger. She stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a deep voice, "Since you can find Green Lotus Sword Immortal, you can also find my father. I will leave this matter to you." "Yi Qinghan, you are really in a difficult position. I am already miserable enough to encounter a great sage corpse. If I encounter a second one, I will definitely die. Moreover, if the Holy Empire's people want to hide the corpse, how can I, a mere Middle Realm expert, find it for you?" Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. "Help or not? Just say it," Bailey Qinxiang asked emotionlessly. When Yi Qinghan saw Bailey Qinxiang's killing intent, he immediately replied firmly, "I will help. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Holy Empire and I are also mortal enemies. You can rest assured that I will help." As the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances, and Yi Qinghan was definitely a wise man. Bailey Qinxiang nodded in satisfaction, and her killing intent dissipated. Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in sweat. This was even more terrifying than accompanying a monarch was like accompanying a tiger. She could kill him just because she was slightly unhappy. Yi Qinghan saw that Bailey Qinxiang's expression was slightly better and thought to himself, if I don't rip her off now, I won't have the chance next time. Holy Lord, with my strength, I am of little help to you. How about you help me and give me 2 or 3 immortal herbs? Once my cultivation increases, it will be more convenient to find your father. Yi Qinghan rubbed his hands and said embarrassedly. Bailey Qinxiang glanced coldly at Yi Qinghan, and the corners of her mouth raised into a sneer. Immortal herbs were precious. In such a huge secret realm, it was already good if 1 immortal herb appeared every million years. Yi Qinghan actually opened his mouth and asked for 2 or 3 immortal herbs. His tone was not ordinary. Immortal herbs were between the eternal sage realm and the sage realm. As long as it was recognized by the heavens and earth, it could directly transform into a human form. Its cultivation was comparable to that of an eternal sage. If you don't have any, you can just give me some holy herbs. Yi Qinghan smiled embarrassedly. Bailey Qinxiang stared at Yi Qinghan and asked indifferently, It's not that I don't have any immortal herbs, but if I really give you one, can you guarantee that you can help me save my father? Yi Qinghan didn't dare to be so sure, but in order to get the immortal herbs, he still said firmly, As long as my cultivation reaches the eternal sage realm, it's only a matter of time before I find your father. Bailey Qinxiang's eyes were too aggressive, as if she could see through Yi Qinghan's soul. After a long time, she said coldly, This is what you said? Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you took the immortal herbs and left the coiling dragon realm. You have received benefits from me, so you have to work for me. If you dare to deceive me, I will make you suffer. Absolutely not. Yi Qinghan was ecstatic and quickly bowed. Chapter 2091. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. Since Bailey Qinxiang promised him immortal herbs, it seemed like it was a done deal. Bailey Qinxiang coldly stared at Yi Qinghan for a while before leaving. As for how she left, a rookie like Yi Qinghan couldn't see it. However, he wasn't interested in knowing. He turned around and looked at the sacred herbs around him. They were at least several 100,000 years old. Any one of them would be enough to save his life, or even an upper-level expert's life. Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. These sacred herbs could be found all over the Saint Palace. They were all cultivated by Bailey Qinxiang over the years. The divine bird was already excited and reminded, Boss, take some away. She probably won't find out even if you take tens of thousands of them. Asterisk cough cough. Asterisk Yi Qinghan coughed and said softly, Shut up. Do you know who she is? She is a supreme being formed by hundreds of flowers. Only by listening to the great sage's preaching can she reach the heavens. If we take one, she will find out. So we can't steal it. I will discuss it with her later. She can just give us 10 mu of sacred herbs. It will be enough for our insane sect to become a powerful sect. The divine bird was impatient. It wanted to rush over and take some, but Yi Qinghan did not allow it. In the depths of the coiling dragon's secret realm, in the endless wilderness, a supreme immortal peach tree stood tall. Half of the peach blossoms were in full bloom, while the other half had already borne fruit. The red immortal peach was about to fall. There were countless variant immortal peach trees around. They were no different from the ones Yi Qinghan obtained. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk Bailey Qinxiang turned into a wisp of flower petals and surrounded the supreme immortal peach tree. The supreme immortal peach tree did not leave. It even shook its leaves and bathed in sacred light. Little Bailey, long time no see. The supreme immortal peach tree spoke in human language. Its voice was deep and powerful. Grandpa Peachtree, I have news from Father. It is good news. You will be very happy after hearing it. Bailey Chinxiang said in a clear voice. Her voice was filled with joy. It had never appeared in front of Yi Qinghan before. Oh? Is it news from Venerable Dragon Immortal? What is it? Who told you? The supreme immortal peach tree transformed into a human face. Countless peach blossoms formed a body with white hair. It looked like an otherworldly immortal. It's a human. Based on my perception, his soul didn't lie. He said that Father God didn't die, but his soul and body were suppressed by the Holy Empire's Holy Lord. As long as his soul and body are released, Father God will definitely return. Bailey Chinxiang revealed her human form and respectfully said, How is that? The Supreme Immortal, and the Supreme Immortal Peach Tree. The Supreme Immortal Peach Tree. The Supreme Immortal God, and the Supreme Immortal. The Supreme Peach Tree. Bailey Chinxiang quickly replied, because the great Shang world's green lotus sword immortal's soul and body were also suppressed by the Holy Empire's sacred master. He said that the Holy Empire's sacred master couldn't kill the eternal great sage and could only suppress him separately. He found the green lotus sword immortal's body and released her soul. Therefore, the green lotus sword immortal has been revived, but half of her origin is missing and she is still in hiding. The supreme immortal peach tree's aura suddenly rose. Its empty eyes stared at Bailey Chinxiang. After a long time it asked, Then what is the purpose of your visit? Grandpa Peachtree, you and Father God are good friends, so you definitely hope that Father God can return. That human promised me that as long as we pay 2 or 3 immortal herbs, he is willing to help us find Father God's body and release Father God's soul. Your immortal peaches have matured. If Grandpa Peachtree is willing to give us 3 immortal peaches, I will be extremely grateful. Bailey Chinxiang respectfully requested. The supreme immortal peach tree hesitated. Once the immortal peaches matured, it would be exposed. The Holy Nation's Holy Emperor would definitely come to the Coiling Dragon's secret realm to search again. Not to mention the Holy Nation's Holy Emperor, even the Heavenly Grand Master Great Sage, and that existence from the Oshi Holy Ground had personally come to search. However, the Supreme Immortal Peach Tree and Bailey Chinxiang had cleverly avoided them. It is very risky. Don't go for wool and come home shorn. Before we release Dragon Immortal's body and soul, we will be devoured. The Supreme Immortal Peach Tree reminded in a deep voice. Bailey Chinxiang knelt down and said resolutely, Chinxiang listened to Father's teachings. Only then will I have the opportunity to attain eternity. I am willing to give my life for Father. If Dragon Immortal knew, he would definitely be happy. Who would have thought that our unintentional actions back then would create a miracle like you? The Supreme Immortal Peach Tree sighed. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. The 3 immortal peaches automatically fell off and flew in front of Bailey Chinxiang. It spoke again, Then I will play with you one more time. Since I can hide you from the 3 great sages, I can also hide you from the 4th tribulation. Give it to him. Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you, Grandpa. For Father to have such a close friend like you, I'm sure he will be pleased. Bailey Chinxiang smiled. She reached out her jade-like hands and caught the 3 immortal peaches that were the size of a head. She bowed and said. The Supreme Immortal Peach Tree sighed and said, After giving the immortal peaches to that person, tell him not to reveal them to the world. After he finds Dragon Immortal's body and soul, tell him to bring them to the Coiling Dragon realm. Also, you can no longer stay in the Divine Palace. Return to my side. We can leave the Coiling Dragon realm at any time and go to other small realms to escape the tribulation. Yes, Grandpa Peachtree. Bailey Chinxiang bowed and retreated. Yi Qinghan was still anxiously waiting. After a full day, Bailey Chinxiang finally appeared in front of him. Her face was still cold, unlike the delicate and cute appearance she had in front of the supreme immortal peach tree. I can give you the immortal herb, but you can't tell anyone about it. Also, after you find Father's body and soul, send him safely back to the coiling dragon realm. I will reward you handsomely, Bailey Chenxiang said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan held back his ecstasy and raised his hand to swear. I swear on my Tao heart that I will never tell anyone about the immortal herb. Otherwise, my Tao heart will collapse and I will never be able to rise again. Moreover, I will do my best to find Bailey Longshan's body and soul and send him back to the coiling dragon realm. Bailey Chenxiang had no choice but to believe in Yi Qinghan. She could not enter the eternal world. Otherwise, the world would be turned upside down and the eternal sage would be provoked. She would never be able to leave the eternal world. Whoosh! 3 immortal peaches appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. The immortal peaches were plump and tender, looking like peaches from the immortal world. They were many times better than the mature immortal peaches he had. Yi Qinghan trembled with excitement. He did not expect that Bailey Chenxiang would give him 3 of these immortal peaches at once. He had really earned a lot. Thank you, fairy. Thank you, fairy. As the saying goes, one who eats others is soft-hearted, and one who takes others is soft-hearted. Since I have accepted these 3 immortal peaches, I will definitely do my best for you. Yi Qinghan smiled excitedly. If there is nothing else, I will send you back to your companions. Bailey Chenxiang did not want to listen to Yi Qinghan's flattery and said coldly, Wait, can you give me some of your sacred herbs? After all, I am still in the middle realm and need a lot of high-grade sacred herbs. At this time, Yi Qinghan was a little embarrassed. He rubbed his hands and asked with a smile. Chapter 2092. When Bailey Chenxiang heard Yi Qinghan's request, her eyes widened. Her white face was so perfect that it was flawless. Her pure eyes stared at Yi Qinghan, making him feel a little embarrassed. He had obtained 3 peaches of immortality this time. Any one of them would be fought over by saints and great sages. However, he was not satisfied and wanted these high-grade holy herbs. High-grade holy herbs covered tens of thousands of miles. Bailey Chenxiang was the master of these flowers. She had cultivated them when she was bored. She even treated these flowers as her own children. Therefore, when Yi Qinghan made this request, she could not understand why a human would make such a request. You are too greedy, Bailey Chenxiang said without any trace of politeness. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, This is all to find your father god as soon as possible. If you can't accept it, then just pretend that I didn't say anything. When it came to Bailey Longxian, Bailey Chenxiang compromised. She could only ask in a muffled voice, How much do you want? Yi Qinghan smiled shyly and said, You can give as much as you want. This junior will absolutely not dare to refuse. Bailey Chenxiang thought for a moment. Anyway, she was going to leave. It was impossible to take them all with her. If she stayed here, they would be ruined. It was better to let these holy herbs play a role and let Father God return as soon as possible. She said, Take as much as you can. After all, I can't stay here anymore and can't take them away. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. When he heard Bailey Chenxiang's words, how could he be polite? If I take all of them, you won't be angry, right? Yi Qinghan asked expectantly. Bailey Chenxiang's breath stagnated. She really wanted to slap this bastard to death. However, she had already made a promise. She could not go back on her words. She could only say impatiently, Take it. As long as you can't kill them in front of me, you can take as much as you want. Yi Qinghan unceremoniously opened the eternal sacred tool storage ring. With a wave of his hand, he took away a large area of mountains and rivers. Except for the divine palace, the soil in the flower bed was uprooted. Not even a blade of grass was left behind. This was the so-called plucking feathers from a wild goose. Even a mouse would cover its face and leave. It was really too miserable. A radius of tens of thousands of miles. It was all Bailey Qinxiang's painstaking efforts. A few days later, Yi Qinghan plundered it was plundered. Of course. To tell you the truth, I also have enmity with the Holy Empire. And I have enmity. And it's not small. As long as I cultivate I to tell you the truth. Hatred and an enmity me. Is a gift. To be honest, to you. Holy and I, holy. And it. Holy I. Bailey Qinxiang obviously didn't believe Yi Qinghan's words. The Holy Empire's strength was enough to destroy several saints' worlds in the past. Even a great sage world couldn't escape this calamity. Yi Qinghan was just an insignificant middle-level cultivator. Wasn't he afraid of biting his tongue by saying this? Looking at Bailey Qinxiang's disdainful eyes, Yi Qinghan's competitive spirit rose. He firmly said, "You don't believe me. I have been chased by the Holy Empire's holy son for many years. This grudge will be settled sooner or later. Moreover, I also have the blood of sinners. My ancestor was also suppressed in hell by the Holy Empire's Holy Lord. If I don't want to take revenge, what is the difference between me and a salted fish?" Bailey Qinxiang looked at Yi Qinghan, nodded silently, and said seriously, "I believe in you. Since Green Lotus Sword Immortal is willing to give you her natal flute, it means that she thinks highly of you. When I was still conscious, I saw Green Lotus Sword Immortal visit Father God. I know her courage and eyesight. Since she believes in you, I have no need to doubt you." Yi Qinghan nodded confidently. If he didn't have the confidence to kill a great sage before, then with the imprisoning Heaven Tao scripture, he might be able to kill a great sage. "I will send you back." Hua! With a wave of Bailey Qinxiang's hand, thousands of petals soared into the air, wrapping Yi Qinghan and disappearing into the depths of the palace in the blink of an eye. At this time, the son of war, Fan Yin, and Zhang Yingshi still hadn't reacted. They stayed in the same place to set up camp, hoping that Yi Qinghan could return safely. Sigh, this time Yi Qinghan disturbed the eternal fairy for us. I hope nothing bad happens to him. Zhang Yingshi looked worried, sitting on a hillside and looking into the depths. He wanted to see Yi Qinghan immediately appear in front of him. Fan Yin looked helpless and frightened and asked nervously, "Do you think that fairy will kill little Yi?" It was obvious that Fan Yin had fallen in love with Yi Qinghan. However, the son of war was very calm and calmly reminded, "Actually, you don't need to worry. If that fairy wanted to kill Brother Yi, she didn't need to take him away. She could kill the four of us with a wave of her hand." "It must be. I think the son of war is right." Zhang Yingshi nodded and said expectantly. Fan Yin was weak at this time, leaning against the mountain rock, and didn't even bother to breathe. He just wanted to see Yi Qinghan as soon as possible. The three of them felt like a year, but fortunately, there were no powerful monsters here. Time flew by. Bailey Qinxiang was an eternal saint and the Lord of 100 Flowers. Her attack power might not be as good as other eternal saints, but her speed was definitely not bad. After a day and a night, Bailey Qinxiang appeared 10,000 miles away from the three of them with Yi Qinghan. She didn't want to meet them again, so she put Yi Qinghan in a valley and reminded him in a deep voice, "Don't forget our agreement. If you dare to take the benefits but don't take action, I will personally go out and find you. Fairy, don't worry, I will inquire about the specific whereabouts of Master Long Xian. Once I know, I will find a way to rescue him," Yi Qinghan said firmly. Bailey Qinxiang then retreated. As soon as Bailey Qinxiang left, Yi Qinghan couldn't hide his excitement. In the valley, he held his stomach and laughed in ecstasy. "I am rich. A strong sect is just around the corner, and the saint realm is within my reach. Xia Zhilong and the Cloud Dragon Sage are no longer a threat. Holy Emperor of the Holy Empire, I am not afraid of you. Yi Qinghan was so proud that he was rolling and jumping on the grass like a child. But at this moment, Bailey Qinxiang didn't go far, but stood not far away and stared at him, wanting to see his expression. She didn't expect to see such a scene. Humph! Bailey Qinxiang snorted coldly. After confirming that Yi Qinghan and the Holy Empire really had a grudge, she left. After Yi Qinghan heard the cold snort, he suddenly felt his hair stand on end. He looked at Bailey Qinxiang's back and felt extremely embarrassed. So embarrassing, are you still the boss? Keep a low profile, understand? The divine bird said disdainfully. Yi Qinghan smiled awkwardly, scratched his head, and quickly rushed to Fan Yin and the others. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan leaped into the air, boldly breaking through the clouds and appearing outside the three's camp. Ha 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 ha, I am back! Yi Qinghan laughed loudly, no longer hiding his feelings. Hua! When Fan Yin saw Yi Qinghan, she immediately rushed over and hugged him tightly, kissing him directly. Chapter 2093. Fan Yin's actions gave Yi Qinghan a fright. However, Fan Yin immediately retreated. She was still as gentle as water a moment ago. She immediately took a step back and kicked Yi Qinghan in the chest, venting her resentment. You bastard, you worried me to death, do you know that? Fan Yin said with her eyes wide open. Yi Qinghan's chest tightened from the kick. He did not expect that Fan Yin, this woman, would not be able to take any injustice and vent it out on the spot. What does this have to do with me? I'm the victim. She only caught me, what can I do? Yi Qinghan said innocently. But I'm in a bad mood because I'm worried about you. It's normal for me to kick you to vent my anger, Fan Yin replied snappily. You're so hard to deal with. Yi Qinghan was speechless, but he could not hide his excitement. The three of them could still see the happiness in his eyes. Why are you so excited? Did you take in another seductress? Zhang Yingshi smiled mockingly. Yi Qinghan grinned and said, No, no, of course I'm excited to be able to come back alive. Let's go back. There's no need to stay in the mystic realm. This guy must have gotten a lot of treasures. Everyone who saw it will get a share. Hurry up and share it. Fan Yin stretched out her hand and demanded. Yi Qinghan smiled cheekily and said straightforwardly, Each of you will get 200 stalks of high-grade sacred medicine. All of them are life-saving treasures. Big Brother here will be very generous. Zhang Yingshi and the Son of Battle did not have anything to say. After all, Yi Qinghan had risked his life to get these. Even giving one stalk was a favor, let alone 200 stalks. Fan Yin considered Yi Qinghan as one of her own. If he gave too much, she would not be polite. If he gave too little, she would not be willing. 200 stalks was not a small amount, so she did not say anything. When Yi Qinghan took out the 600 high-grade saint medicines, Fan Yin didn't say anything. These high-grade saint medicines were priceless outside, second only to saint medicines. As for the Son of War and Zhang Yingshi, they were overjoyed. After splitting the sacred medicine, although the other three wanted to continue searching for the immortal medicine, Yi Qinghan was no longer willing to do so. The other three did not say anything else and left with Yi Qinghan. The four of them strolled through the mountains and rivers, traversing the mountains and rivers. After a few months of running, they returned to the entrance of the Coiling Dragon's secret realm. Yi Qinghan did not immediately open the entrance. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the ground and rested. After eating a sacred medicine, he recovered to his peak condition. The other three could not bear to eat sacred medicine. They could only rely on the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to slowly accumulate their god power. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. Instead, he continued to study the sacred annihilation finger. Outside the secret realm, at the entrance, Xia Zhilong, Xian Xiu, and the 10 great divine generals were resting and cultivating. They silently waited for Yi Qinghan. Once the 10 great divine generals surrounded Yi Qinghan would definitely not be their match. In the eyes of Xia Zhilong and divine generals Luo Fei, Yi Qinghan would definitely die this time. After about an hour, Yi Qinghan felt that it was about time. He got up and flew above the entrance. He tore open a crack and peeked at the 10 great divine generals and Xia Zhilong outside the secret realm. He grinned and waved his hand to take out the blue lotus demonic flower. Cooperate with me later. I don't want to kill anyone. I just want Xia Zhilong to retreat, Yi Qinghan said calmly. The blue lotus demonic flower swayed its branches and leaves, emitting a seductive blue light. At that moment, Fan Yin and the others woke up. They were all in peak condition. They held their weapons in their hands and looked at Yi Qinghan, ready to leave at any time. Xia Zhilong, the 10 great divine generals, and Xian Xiu are outside. You don't have to do anything later. I'll use my domain to play with Xia Zhilong. You can take the opportunity to leave. They can't do anything to me, Yi Qinghan said with a faint smile. The son of war shook his head. He really sympathized with Xia Zhilong. They had brought 200 to 300 people this time. Now there were only 12 people left. Were they really going to let Xia Zhilong go back without an army? Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi nodded and prepared to tear open the entrance. Yi Qinghan pulled out berserk, put on his Taoist robe, and put away the blue lotus demonic flower. He said calmly, on the count of 3, you guys tear open the barrier. I'll attack. As long as we charge out, I'll use my domain. Okay. The 3 of them replied in unison. 1, 2, 3 whoosh. Zhang Yingshi tore open the barrier, Fan Yin and the son of war defended, and Yi Qinghan slashed outside. In fact, the moment Zhang Yingshi tore open the barrier, Xia Zhilong had already led the 11 experts to attack the barrier. His divine power overflowed and instantly surrounded the barrier. Boom! The barrier shone brightly and suppressed the heavens. The aftershocks shattered mountains and rivers, and rumbled in all directions. Yi Qinghan's slash seemed to have used up all his strength. At his peak, he actually shook the attacks of the 12 experts. Both sides retreated fiercely. Whoosh! Zhang Yingshi grabbed Yi Qinghan and pulled him out of the barrier. Whoosh! As soon as the 4 experts entered the island, a gust of wind swept up the fallen leaves. The world turned blue and turned into a domain. Just as the 10 divine generals steadied themselves, they suddenly realized that there were 2 Xia Zhilongs. They were identical. They both held 9 dragon fans and wore sacred dragon robes. Even if one of them was an illusion, it was impossible to tell the real one from the fake. Xia Zhilong glared and clenched his 9 dragon fan tightly. He charged straight at Yi Qinghan's illusion. 9 heavenly dragons swept across the land and charged towards Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan used the same strength as Yi Qinghan. The same moves and the same 9 divine dragons intertwined and fought in a chaotic battle. Kill the 3 of them and then help me. Xia Zhilong roared angrily. However, Yi Qinghan roared, this bastard is a fake. He wants to kill us with a borrowed knife. He wants us to offend the 3 holy lands at the same time. Let the 3 of them leave. I just want to keep him alive today. The 10 divine generals were stunned. They stood in their spots, not knowing what to do. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the son of battle stood in their spots and watched the show. They could already tell who was Yi Qinghan. However, the 10 divine generals could not, because the 2 Xia Zhilongs were right. If they killed the son of battle, Zhang Yingshi, and Fan Yin now, once Yi Qinghan escaped, the Holy Empire would be besieged. However, the 10 divine generals knew that their goal this time was to kill the 4 of them. This time, the situation was different. Yi Qinghan and Xia Zhilong could move mountains and rivers, but their moves were exactly the same. They were evenly matched. neither could do anything to the other. They could only stop and glare angrily at each other, wanting to crush the other. Divine General Luo Fei, this emperor is the real Xia Zhilong. Can't you tell? Xia Zhilong stared at Divine General Luo Fei and roared. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and put away the 9-dragon fan. He stared at Xia Zhilong and said coldly, Yi Qinghan, don't try to deny it. Today the 3 of them can leave, but you are dead. That's what I wanted to say too. Yi Qinghan, you better hand over the Yinyang Bagua robe, berserk, and eternal glove to this emperor. Then, this emperor might spare your life. Xia Zhilong said angrily. Yi Qinghan's performance was perfect. He controlled his expression and emotions very well. The 2 sides were at each other's throats. At this moment, the son of battle, Fan Yin, and Zhang Yingshi calmly left. The 10 divine generals did not know if they should stop them. Chapter 2094. Fan Yin and the others left, leaving Xian Xiu and the 10 divine generals looking at each other, unsure of who to help. Yi Qinghan gently fanned the 9-dragon fan and stared at Xia Zhilong. He made the first move and said coldly, Yi Qinghan, no matter what demonic technique you use, there will always be a flaw. Your friend has already left. Do you think you can escape from the encirclement of the 10 divine generals and I? Xia Zhilong was flustered and exasperated. He rushed over to fight Yi Qinghan again, but without using the immortal sealing imprint, Yi Qinghan could use all his secret technique. This was the miracle of a domain, so he had no choice but to retreat to the side. He looked at Xian Xiu and said in a low voice, Xian Xiu, you've followed me for so many years. Can't you tell the difference between real and fake? Xian Xiu, I'm the real one. Can't you tell? Yi Qinghan pretended to be angry as he questioned Xian Xiu. Xian Xiu was dumbfounded. The 2 of them were exactly the same. He couldn't tell the difference at all. The entire world was blue, as if everything was the same. He couldn't tell the difference. This should be a domain. A special ability of some kind of creature. However, no creature can be perfect. Divine General Luo Fei stared at the 2 of them. The divine sword in his hand vibrated lightly. After a long time, he unsheathed it and attacked Yi Qinghan. Whoosh. The sword was graceful, and its killing intent soared. Yi Qinghan was expressionless. He watched coldly as the divine sword reached his throat. He didn't move an inch. I believe you, Divine General. You should now understand that I'm the real Xia Zhilong. Yi Qinghan definitely won't let you attack him, Yi Qinghan said with a faint smile. Whoosh. The 10 divine generals and Xian Xiu surrounded the real Xia Zhilong and drew their swords. Xia Zhilong was furious. He roared, Are you crazy? I'm the real Xia Zhilong. Get out of my way. I don't need you today. I can still kill this bastard. I'll prove to you that Yi Qinghan is the ant. Boom. Xia Zhilong's aura soared into the heavens, and his might was like that of a saint. A special imprint appeared on his forehead, and it was in the shape of a swastika. It continuously rotated, absorbing the divine force of the world. This is an immortal sealing imprint. Yi Qinghan, so what if you use demons to control domains? Can you create an immortal sealing imprint? Xia Zhilong roared. As Xia Zhilong said, Yi Qinghan used the blue lotus bewitching flower's innate ability to control domains. But it could only manifest existences below the eternal sovereign realm. It couldn't even manifest existences on the verge of stepping into the saint realm, much less this special mark. Yi Qinghan looked at the symbol and sneered. I didn't expect you to obtain such an opportunity during the heaven worship ceremony. However, it will be mine sooner or later, so I'll leave it to you for now. Yi Qinghan no longer concealed himself and reverted to his original form. His Taoist robes were sharp and cold as he tore through the void. He looked down at Xia Zhilong and his aura did not lose out to his opponent in the slightest. Whoosh! 12 experts instantly surrounded Yi Qinghan. Just as they were about to attack, they suddenly saw Yi Qinghan's figure inexplicably shatter and dissipate with the wind. Ha 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 ha! Although I can't manifest this immortal sealing imprint, this is still my domain. I am the saint within this domain. As long as I don't allow it, you can slowly search for the exit. This uncle is leaving, whoosh! His voice became softer and softer as Yi Qinghan disappeared from everyone's sight. Xia Zhilong roared, "Break the domain for me. Don't let him escape again." Boom! The 10 divine generals joined forces, their killing intent soaring to the sky. 10 swords merged into one and shattered everything. The blue world did not shatter, but it became much fainter. Xia Zhilong suppressed his anger, and did not use the immortal sealing imprint. Because once he used it, he would need at least 10 years before he could use it again. This was the disadvantage. The mystic joined the attack team, and attacked continuously for more than 2 hours. The barrier shattered and everything returned to normal. But at this moment, Yi Qinghan had already disappeared without a trace. 50,000 miles away, Yi Qinghan stepped on the void, his figure twisting and turning. He had actually caught up to Fanine and the others. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and appeared in front of them. He said in a low voice, "I can't imitate Xia Zhilong anymore. Let's leave quickly." Whoosh! Whoosh! The 4 of them moved as fast as lightning. In order to escape, they did not hesitate to pay any price. They even held high-grade sage medicines in their mouths, ready to swallow them to replenish their divine power. Xia Zhilong led the 11 upper-level experts and moved even faster. Although Yi Qinghan was 2 hours ahead of them, the distance between them was shortened by a lot. This was because Zhang Yingshi and the Son of Battle were not as fast as Fanine and Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he held a high-grade sage medicine in his mouth. He gestured with his hand and said, "Let's go. I'll bring you along." Fanine grabbed Yi Qinghan's left hand, Zhang Yingshi grabbed Fanine, and the Son of Battle grabbed Yi Qinghan's right hand. The 4 of them moved in parallel. Yi Qinghan activated the Green Lotus Immortal Steps, seizing the heavens, and Shadowless Cloud Manipulation. The 2 great sage techniques merged and quickly drained his divine power. He tore through the sky and appeared on the other side of the coiling Dragon Island. Whoosh! The high-grade sage medicine in Yi Qinghan's mouth transformed into a surge of divine power that poured into his dantian and limbs like an ocean. In the blink of an eye, his divine power was filled to the peak. Boom! Yi Qinghan landed on the beach with everyone. At this moment, Xia Zhilong was nowhere to be seen. This was a gamble using sage medicine. Only Yi Qinghan could afford to do so. After all, a high-grade sage medicine represented a life. Not everyone was willing to use sage medicine to escape. Phew! Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. Although his body was filled with divine power, his soul was extremely tired. His mind went black, and he almost collapsed to the ground. "I'll rest for a while. We're at least 3 to 5 days away from them. Even if we enter the continent of the Great World, they might not be able to catch up to us." Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to recover. After a full 2 hours, Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in sweat and dripped down like raindrops. His soul was full, and divine light flowed around his body. He was filled with divine power. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief and open his eyes. Like lightning, he pierced through the void and looked into the depths. "Let's go. Let's enter the continent first. It'll be impossible for them to kill you all without restraint," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Zhang Yingshi understood them and said confidently, "Their speed isn't that exaggerated. I'm starting to wonder what kind of forbidden technique you used." Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The 4 of them rode the wind and broke through the waves, rushing into the endless sea. They flew very fast, but it didn't affect their conversation. Fan Yin had long suspected Yi Qinghan's forbidden technique. It had some of the essence of shadowless cloud, and some of it was even more profound. It seemed to be of a higher level than shadowless cloud. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "Little Yi, don't lie to me. Are you using a secret immortal technique?" However, before Yi Qinghan could answer, Fan Yin denied it. She shook her head and said, "That's not right. You knew this forbidden technique before the heaven worship ceremony. What kind of trick is this? Why can you teleport?" Yi Qinghan didn't dare to tell her that this was Green Lotus Immortal Step seizing the heavens. He smiled mysteriously and said calmly, "It's a secret. This is my trump card." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.